if it doesn't right now, keep my grade or not. It's a lot of sense because I have now 6 weeks. So none of my doctors not question like what it's causing. It could still be causing somehow. Apparently that causes summer. Which thankfully where I am now is only really resembling of a summer that can do this for a very small part of it. That's not an apocalypse story, but that's going to watch later. I watch later. I don't mean watch later list where I will absolutely never actually get around to all of it. So apparently this one though, the one that I put on my list, which is just another tab, I'll keep it till it's literally just being trying to protect her dog. So this one is interesting. So yeah, it's definitely a zombie. I at least want to start it. So probably I can't stop.
Welcome to
Is it? I don't even know if anything that I said was heard. Let's see. Reborn and oh no, this is Last On Stories. We're gonna get more advertisements, but I haven't seen this one yet, so well, listen to it yet. I mean, they run AI images in it, so let's see. Reborn in apocalyptic world led town people to repel zombies by growing garlic. I haven't heard that one before. And became the savior, but the butt is cut off. I do not know what that's supposed to say. Unless that's actually supposed to be like that. Okay. Quick street here, cost, stability. Nice.
Welcome to Last Dawn Stories channel. I was reborn into a zombie novel, facing millions of zombies. I went out wearing garlic around my neck, but I almost got my head blown off by a special zombie hunting squad. Terrified, I fled back to my garlic field overnight. Little did they know, the zombies around the garlic field had been gathering in increasing numbers. Meanwhile, the special operations team on the other side was puzzled. Why did the zombies stop moving when they reached this spot? How many steps does it take to go from a college student who can't even kill a chicken to a garlic farmer? My answer is, just one step. An hour ago, I stayed up late reading zombie novels and ended up reincarnating into one. Good news, I've reached the part where zombies are afraid of garlic. Good news, my family grows garlic. Good news, the town has mountain spring water, so no one drank contaminated water. A series of good news almost made me think I
They
had been
mixed up
reborn into the wrong
zombies
story,
and
until
vampires.
bad news, this year's garlic hasn't even been planted yet. I nearly let out a sharp, piercing scream. What are you waiting for? This is a matter of life and death. I'm going to die. Upon realizing it was already the 10th day of the 8th lunar month, I, who had been sick for a week, jolted up from my deathbed in shock. I knew time was tight, but I never expected it to be this tight. Only 5 days left. 5 days. Once the Mid-Autumn Festival arrives, the zombie outbreak will be in full swing. The city will be slaughtered. They actually told me the key item hasn't hatched yet, so right then, I dragged my younger brother, who was still sitting in front of the TV eating mooncakes, and we biked straight to the chess and card parlor at the edge of town. Which one's dad? As I spoke, I snatched the mooncake from my brother's hand and glared fiercely at the packed chess and card parlor. Damn it. Whoever wants to transmigrate into this apocalyptic world can go ahead. I don't want to die yet. My 10-year-old brother was nearly scared to tears by me, trembling as he pointed toward a dark-skinned, disheveled old man at the innermost table. Great. I took a big bite of the mooncake and rushed in. From now on, garlic is king. 5 minutes later, I forcibly dragged my flushed-faced dad back home. By the way, I also snatched the garlic my mom was about to chop while cooking. Facing the two bewildered faces, I dropped a stern warning, until the new garlic grows, no one is allowed to touch a single clove. Just kidding, it's the era of garlic now. Early the next morning, Dad took me to see the field. Looking at the hundreds of acres of land inside and outside the town, I was so excited that tears almost fell from the corner of my mouth. Truly, heaven never seals off all exits. If all this were planted with garlic, forget about warding off zombies. We could even fight them. At this thought, I felt terrifyingly strong, but when I dragged my dad to see the mayor, my uncle, who was the mayor, nearly choked on his soda in shock. Plant all garlic, you dumb kid. Have you gone crazy from studying too much? What are we gonna eat? That's when I snapped back to reality. Indeed, we couldn't plant all garlic, otherwise, we'd starve to death before the zombies even got to us. Uncle, plant garlic in the outermost circle. This is the only concession I can make. After all, that's the safest way. But upon hearing this, the town mayor frowned, turned to look at my father, and gave him a look that seemed to say, "Please control your daughter," with a sense of helplessness. What kind of move is this? Wow, how dare you badmouth me right in front of me with just your eyes? A tiger that doesn't show its might is mistaken for a Doraemon. I got angry instantly. Uncle, I'm serious. I'm not joking with you. Word by word, I spoke with resounding force. If it weren't for me being reborn into this damn zombie novel, do you think I'd want to do this? I don't even know how to farm, for fuck's sake. But just thinking about those terrifying descriptions of zombies tearing into flesh gives me goosebumps all over. Are you kidding? This is a matter of life and death. But Uncle still remained silent. Damn it, some people just won't learn until they're hit by reality. So I stopped waiting for his response. Slamming the table, I roared like a lion. It's settled then. This year, only garlic can be planted in the outermost ring of land in the town. As soon as the words were spoken, my uncle's brows furrowed, and his expression turned fierce. You little brat, who do you think you are, the town mayor or... But before he could finish, I cut him off. Either do your job properly or get the hell out. With that, I slammed the table again and walked out of my uncle's house without looking back, my father following behind, not even noticing that the table at my uncle's house had cracked. That evening, The loudspeaker at the edge of town announced that the outermost fields in the town would all be planted with garlic this year. I laughed. Wasn't this quite easy to talk about? The sun hadn't set yet. In the orange glow of dusk, I stood at the doorstep, scooping rice from my bowl, gazing solemnly at the fields beyond the town. My expression as serious as could be. My little brother stood beside me, holding his bowl. Scattering rice everywhere. Sis, are you going to plant garlic tomorrow too? I shook off the rice he'd spilled onto my foot and flicked the grains hanging from his mouth back into his bowl. Of course, even though I don't know how to plant. But as soon as I finished speaking, my mom, who was eating inside, rushed out. Sweetie, you're not going back to school. School? By now, the school must already be overrun with zombies, with everyone fighting for their own survival. Going back would be like asking for death. But seeing the worried look on my mom's face, I still didn't tell the truth. I'll go back after the Mid-Autumn Festival. Only after I said that did my mom pat her chest and say, Sweetie, don't scare me like that. You're the first college student from our town. With that one sentence, I was stunned. The first college student. No wonder I can command the wind and rain. It's all because of my status. The day after the notice, our family started planting garlic under the watchful eyes of the entire town. By noon, all sorts of rumors were spreading through the town. Hey, did you hear? Kathy, the college student from the edge of town, came back from the city to plant garlic. Next year's garlic harvest is going to be something else. Oh my God, even the first college graduate in town is planting garlic now. Don't doubt it. Kathy must have caught wind of something in the city. She's got connections there. That school alone has tens of thousands of people. Exactly. Some official must have tipped her off. Otherwise, why would she start planting so early this year? That's what I think too. Even the town mayor has announced that all the outermost land in town must be planted with garlic this year. The outermost land, isn't that the largest plot for each household? No, you've all confused me. Didn't Kathy come back because she was sick? Hey, you've reminded me. Maybe a deity sent Kathy a dream. Hey, that's right. The day before yesterday, Kathy came to take her old man home, and her face was so red. Didn't look like someone who'd been sick for a week at all. Exactly. I heard from her mom that she went on vacation to some mountain. Came back sick. Probably the mountain gods had a word with her. A few hours later, the story of me planting garlic spread from one end of the town to the other, twisted into the gods giving me a prophetic dream. I chuckled. If there really were gods, I'd only wish for them to send me the stories I haven't finished reading. Okay. Fortunately, that very afternoon, the
That's
entire town
fair.
started planting garlic. But now that all the garlic is planted, why is it growing so slowly, for several days in a row? I went to check on the garlic fields outside the town. The garlic didn't even budge. Tomorrow is the Mid-Autumn Festival, and the zombie horde is about to break out. Although the town is remote, zombies will eventually make their way here. Just as I was pondering how long it would take for the zombies to reach our town, Dad suddenly said, It's a holiday tomorrow. Let's go into the city. Upon hearing this, my younger brother cheered excitedly. Yay, I want to go too. All right, we'll go. Mom said with a smile, patting his head. I was stunned. The city, too, the city. I was so startled I nearly jumped up, putting down my bowl and slamming my hand on the table. No way. Are you trying to get yourselves killed, going to the city during Mid-Autumn Festival? The zombies would devour you until not even your bones remain. As the words fell, the entire family instantly fell into complete silence. Mom and Dad stared at me wide-eyed, while my younger brother pouted in grievance. Dad opened his mouth, about to say something more, but in the next instant, the old wooden table, weakened by age, suddenly split apart. I blinked, looking at the few who had hastily grabbed their rice bowls. If I said I really didn't use any force, would anyone believe me? After that one incident, no one dared to mention going to the city again. Yet early the next morning, someone came calling, James, are you going to the city? Kevin's new car can still squeeze in a few more people. With those words, I was wide awake. Damn it, this is just treating the symptoms, not the root cause. When I dashed to the town entrance with a carp's leap, I saw a brand new minivan already packed with people. I was stunned. 2 in the front, the back seats folded down with 8 sitting back to back, and 4 more squeezed neatly in the middle. Gotta hand it to Kevin. This minivan sure has impressive capacity. Hey, isn't this Kathy? As I was looking, Kevin in the driver's seat rolled down the window with a flashy smile. That's right, my name is Kathy, but am I even close with him, going to the city? Come on, I'll give you a ride. As he spoke, Kevin took off the sunglasses clipped to his floral shirt and put them on. The townsfolk nearby started chattering away. Kathy, off to the city again. College students are always so busy. Come, come, sit next to Auntie. Hearing these words, I felt the sweat on my back turn cold with dread. This group heading into the city is practically walking into a death trap. Forget about morality. After all, everyone has their own fate, and I'm no saint, but what if a few infected people come back? The whole town would be doomed. Of course, I'd be doomed too. What to do? What to do? Just as I was frantic and about to stomp my feet in frustration, I overheard the auntie next to me chattering to others about how I had received a divine dream. Oh my, what a coincidence. Ah, in the blink of an eye. I screamed, rolled my eyes a few times, and collapsed to the ground. Bang! What the hell is going on? Good heavens! Someone come quick! My God! Kathy at James' place is having a seizure. A commotion erupted as the townspeople crowded around in panic to watch me convulsing on the ground. What in the world is happening here? Kathy, Kathy! Stop shouting! Hurry up! Let Kevin drive into town to check it out. It's urgent. What a disaster! Go quickly, call Kathy's father. Amid the clamor, I felt someone grabbing my arms and legs. When the time was right, I suddenly shook off the person holding me, sat up straight in meditation, closed my eyes, and roared in a voice as deep as an old man's, "Great calamity approaches the city." As the words fell, a fierce wind suddenly swept through the surroundings, then, rumbles of thunder echoed across the sky, boom, boom. The noisy crowd instantly fell silent, as if even their breathing had stopped. Only the dull rumble of thunder came intermittently, while the howling autumn wind blew straight through, unsettling hearts, as if truly foretelling an ominous sign. Heaven truly aids me. I remember the novel mentioned an exceptionally heavy rainstorm on the Mid-Autumn Festival. I never expected it to arrive so perfectly timed. As I was thinking, the next moment, someone suddenly shouted, "Oh my God! Kathy is possessed by a deity." Kathy's father, James, by the time I, pretending to have fainted, was carried back home. The rain had grown heavier. Seeing me being carried back, Dad was visibly terrified. What the hell happened? A group of people entered the house and placed me on a chair. "James, your family's in big trouble. Kathy just got possessed by a spirit. She can predict fortunes now." Yeah, thank goodness Kathy came, or we would have gone into town. Look at this heavy rain now. Might have gone in alive but not come back out. Exactly. Kathy said the city was extremely dangerous, and right after she said that, the wind howled and thunder struck, scared us half to death. The group chattered on, leaving the old man and old woman gasping in shock with every word. Just as I was hesitating whether to wake up, I heard my mom say, "I knew this girl wasn't acting right lately. Yesterday she split the wooden table at home with a single chop." With that one sentence, the townspeople gasped in shock. Good heavens! There must be a deity living inside your Kathy. Gods bless us. The gods are truly watching over our town through Kathy. I always said Kathy was a clever child since she was little. This is what they call divine favor. Exactly. I reckon Kathy might ascend to immortality in the future. The heavy rain lasted a full day and
Oh my
night,
God,
and it only gradually stopped by the next morning. The TV can't get any signal, and even the mountain road out of town is blocked. The town mayor, Uncle, came to see me early in the morning. "Kathy, the mountain road out of town is blocked by mudslides. Do you think we should clear it or call the authorities?" Uncle looked at me with hopeful eyes, his tone indescribably earnest. I shook my head while sipping porridge. "No need to clear it, just leave it blocked. This is a natural barrier, you know. But when the zombies increase in number, it won't hold them back. We'll still have to rely on the garlic fields." Uncle nodded twice with an uh-huh, looking at me as if he wanted to say something but hesitated. I picked up some pickles with my chopsticks, glanced at Uncle, and couldn't help but remind him, "Uncle, we need to check the mountain spring water daily, and starting today, no one should leave the town. The garlic fields planted around the town's perimeter are the boundary." In a word, Uncle became alert. "Kathy, tell Uncle, is there any danger outside?" "Of course there's danger, but heaven's secrets must not be revealed." The town quietly passed half a month as usual. The TV signal had been gone since the Mid-Autumn
I
Festival,
mean,
and
if
even the
that's something to
electricity
listen
supply was
to.
gradually cut off. All the calls made by the mayor to the higher-ups were met with busy tones. It didn't take much thought to realize that the zombies had already destroyed the power plants and signal stations, but fortunately, the garlic planted outside the town finally sprouted. However, the townsfolk gradually grew anxious, spending their days either gathered at my house or huddled around the battery-powered radio at the mayor's place. Days passed like this, and the garlic fields flourished more and more. Another half-month went by. The zombies didn't arrive. But the radio at Uncle's house picked up a frequency. By the time my younger brother pulled me to Uncle's house on his bicycle, the place was already packed with people, 3 layers deep inside and out. "Kathy, come listen quickly." Uncle turned the volume to maximum as he spoke. "Hello, citizens of H City. I am the mayor of H City. Currently, our city is under full-scale attack by zombies. But our special task force has been deployed to eliminate them. Please remain calm. Do not drink tap water." Prioritize your safety, and seek shelter in designated safe zones. As the message continued, the radio signal was lost again. These were all scenarios I'd read about in novels. H City's tap water contamination leading to a full-blown zombie outbreak, forcing the deployment of a special task force for containment. Later, by sheer coincidence, it was discovered that zombies feared garlic, but the plot beyond this point. I hadn't finished reading before transmigrating into the book. So how the zombies were eventually eliminated and what the final outcome of the story was, I don't know. For some reason, an unknown fear sent a chill down my spine. Just as I was thinking, my uncle's voice came from beside me. "Kathy, Kathy." I quickly snapped back to attention. Faces filled with worry and fear started chattering all at once. "Kathy, tell Auntie. What are zombies? Yeah, we don't have tap water here. And also, what's this about going to a shelter? Is it far?" One question after another. I was completely baffled. To be honest, they were scared, and so was I. But as someone who once had a god's eye view, I said to them firmly, "Don't worry, zombies are afraid of garlic. As long as we stay in the town, drink the mountain spring water, and don't venture beyond the garlic fields, we'll be fine." With these words, everyone calmed down slightly. "Kathy, what about those zombies mentioned on the radio? They won't come here, will they? How do you know they're afraid of garlic? Is this reliable?" After speaking, the town elder hurriedly took a few puffs from his pipe. There are too many zombies, and they are completely mindless. It's only a matter of time before they reach the town, but being afraid of garlic is totally legit." Just as I was about to bring up the divine intervention excuse again, Kevin over there couldn't sit still any longer. "Uncle, don't worry, how about I drive you all to the shelter in my car?" With that one sentence, everyone's faces lit up as if they'd seen hope. Yeah, let's take Kevin's car to the shelter. If that thing reaches our town, we're done for, right? We're leaving tonight. The people in the city will protect us." As they spoke, several people started moving. I stared at Kevin, who was grinning with a carefree expression, and couldn't help but feel a surge of anger. He sure knows how to stir things up. I grabbed Kevin, who was swinging his car keys and about to walk out, and snapped, "Do you even know where the shelter is? Do you have any idea how many zombies there are? Do you realize your car can't even protect you from them? A month has passed. The zombies are cannibalizing each other. Do you have any idea how much harder they are to kill now? That's exactly why the special task force was deployed." With that, I flung Kevin away with a single motion. For some reason, though, the slightest force sent Kevin crashing into the wall. Lately, my strength seems to be growing uncontrollably. No time to help Kevin up. I quickly blocked the mayor's door instead. "Uncles and aunts, don't be afraid. Stay in the town. Trust me, as long as we have garlic, nothing will happen, okay? Even the gods told me in a dream." However, does garlic really work? Can it be more effective than the guns from the city? When the zombies come, we won't be able to escape for real. Exactly. When the zombies come, what good will gods be? Right. Bullets are way more useful. After a few sentences, I was dumbfounded. Now they suddenly don't believe in mysticism at all. The gods told me garlic can ward off zombies. It's true. I talked until my mouth was dry. But once suspicion takes root in people's hearts, fear begins to erode their reason. Especially today's broadcast made them feel they couldn't just sit and wait for disaster. Early the next morning, Kevin drove off in his van with his entire family. The townspeople immediately grew restless. I couldn't stop them, nor did I care to try anymore. I just reminded my parents and younger brother to carry garlic with them, while commandeering my brother's bicycle for my own use. "Sis, why are you taking my bike?" My brother's eyes reddened as he watched enviously at the group of kids riding their bicycles out to play at the edge of town. Don't think I don't know you left town. If a zombie catches you, not even a god can save you. As I spoke, I stuffed garlic into his pocket. I had expected something to go wrong, but I never thought it would happen so quickly. Kathy, something terrible has happened. When the mayor uncle rushed to my house with a group of people in a panic, I knew it was inevitable. The kids who went out to play this morning still hadn't returned home by the afternoon. I asked my younger brother and found out that they usually only turned back when they reached the spot blocked by dirt. I nearly laughed in frustration. Riding that far, they might as well have been asking for death, and now, since they still haven't returned, it's obvious. They must have run into zombies. Every able-bodied person in town, grab a bag of garlic and follow me. I tied a bag of garlic to my bicycle and threaded garlic bulbs into strings with a needle and thread, draping them over myself. Under the worried gazes of the whole town and my younger brother's tear-reddened eyes, I instructed the mayor, "Uncle, don't leave the garlic fields. Wait for us to return." But saying that was one thing. God knows my legs were trembling as I mounted the bicycle. The zombies are finally about to meet. Leading the way was the mayor's son, Charles, riding at the front and moving swiftly. As I watched the sky gradually darken, a sense of unease crept over me, forcing me to quicken my pace. Half an hour later, Charles finally spoke up, "We're almost there." Behind me, I quickly nodded in agreement, and several other young men also responded verbally. However, just as the bike rounded a corner, I spotted a zombie covered in blood, its body twisted into a bizarre shape. In an instant, the bike came to a complete stop. How disgusting. I fought back the urge to vomit, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it would leap out of my chest. "Quick, grab the garlic. Zombies that have evolved for a month. Who knows how much garlic will be enough? Hurry, hurry." Walk back to back in groups. Hold the garlic against your chests. Yet everyone seemed frozen in place. I had to shout again to wake them up. "Yes, that's it. Keep moving forward. Don't be afraid." I carried the garlic alone, leading the way ahead, as we passed by the zombies. My heart was pounding in my throat. However, the moment I got close, the zombie immediately turned its head and kept a wide distance from us. I was so overjoyed I almost laughed out loud. The author wasn't lying after all. Zombies have a keen sense of smell and feel the same disgust toward garlic as humans do toward feces. Exactly. In their eyes now, I'm just a walking piece of shit. Thinking about it this way, it really does seem hard to stomach. Speeding up, as I approached the blocked area, I saw Kevin's van and a few bicycles lying on the ground, along with some scattered garlic bulbs. What's this? Just as I was puzzled, I spotted a dozen or so zombies swarming at the front of the van, frantically attacking the dirt mound and the vehicle. I gasped in shock as I heard the van honk its horn. Then someone shouted, we're here, Charles said beside me. That's Kevin's voice, faced with so many zombies. I glanced at the garlic everyone was holding in their hands. Everyone. Throw the garlic one by one at the zombies on the front of the car. After saying this, I stepped forward first to throw, then turned my head and shouted at Kevin through the closed window. When the zombies let go, quickly reverse the car. There's another zombie on the road. Ram him and hurry back to town. Dozens of children in the car were chattering noisily. I frowned tightly, glancing at the collapsing dirt pile, and yelled, hurry. During the garlic assault, the zombies gradually halted their fierce offensive. In the blink of an eye, the car swiftly reversed. The next moment, the dirt mound was breached by the zombies. Seeing the dense horde charging forward, I screamed in terror, quick, ride the bikes and run. This bit of garlic clearly couldn't hold them off. Yet in that instant, not only was I scared out of my wits, but Charles and the others were so terrified they couldn't even mount their bikes, as the zombies were about to overwhelm us. I grabbed 2 bicycles and hurled them at the undead. Instantly, the tremendous force sent the zombies toppling backward like a collapsing mountain. Stunned and with no time to marvel, I jumped onto Charles's back seat clutching the garlic, shouting, go, now. The entire way, everyone's adrenaline was screaming wildly, and the cries
Interesting.
of the pursuing zombies still seemed to echo in our ears. The journey that normally took half an hour was completed in just 15 minutes as we rushed back to the town. As soon as we got out of the car, the town mayor and the townspeople crowded around, shouting, what should we do? Kathy, what did the immortals say? Their voices were loud, mixed with the cries of the rescued child, giving me a headache. At this moment, the immortal within me had become their only lifeline. Recalling the immense strength I just felt, I gained a bit of confidence. If I'm not mistaken, I must have awakened a superpower, superhuman strength. In this zombie apocalypse, those with superpowers are the elite. From what I remember of the synopsis, the male lead in the story took on the mission to eradicate the zombies precisely because he had dual abilities. Now, I should also have the capability to protect the people in our town. Stay calm, none of you got bitten just now. My eyes swept over the group that had just encountered the zombies, still uneasy. I rushed forward and turned them around to check. Only after confirming they were unharmed did I finally let out a sigh of relief. The village chief had already lit his umpteenth pipe of dry tobacco. Kathy, the zombies are here. What do you think we should do now? In a word, all eyes were looking at me with hope. Hurry and build fences around the town. Hang garlic on them, especially at the town gates where there are no garlic fields. Be quick. That night, the townspeople worked by lantern light to erect the fences, from the elderly in their 80s to children as young as 7. No one dared to slack off. I thought about the zombies from this morning and fell into deep contemplation while staring at the straight road in the town. So many zombies. And we don't have any weapons at all. If even one gets in, I have supernatural abilities to protect myself. But what about them? There are so many people in town. If only we could request protection from the city. But where can I find someone, and how do I get out? As I was fretting, everything suddenly went dark before my eyes. Someone knelt down in front of me. Startled, I jumped back and saw Kevin kowtowing to me 3 times. What are you doing? I reached out to pull Kevin up, but he dodged on his knees and handed me his car keys and brick phone. You saved my family's lives today. If there's ever anything you need, just say the word. Take these as thanks. With that, he bowed to me again and ran off before I could react, holding the items in my hands. They felt like hot potatoes, yet the next moment, I turned on the brick phone. It could still make calls, but when I dialed the emergency number, all I got was another busy signal. I thought I should go into the city to see if I could find someone from the municipal government or get something to help the townspeople protect themselves, hearing that I was leaving town. The locals hurriedly filled every part of the car except the windshield with garlic. The smell was so strong I could barely get in the car. Have a safe trip, sweetie. Come home early. Kathy, we'll be waiting for you in town. Listening to everyone's words, I nodded and laughed carelessly. I have divine protection, no need to be afraid. You all should eat and drink as usual. The zombies won't dare to come in. After saying that, I concealed the fear in my heart and drove the car out. Zombies have a keen sense of smell, and whether it was because of the garlic fields or not, they all stopped 2 miles outside the town. As I drove the garlic car, they all moved aside. Their grotesque and monstrous shapes made me want to cry and vomit. But when I drove out of the mountain road and onto the highway, I finally understood what a true hell on earth looked like. The highway was dyed red, with severed limbs and shattered bodies scattered everywhere. I held it in for a moment but ultimately couldn't stop myself from vomiting. Ugh, the book described it as terrifying enough, but actually seeing it in person was truly life-threatening. Fortunately, I hadn't eaten much in the morning, so after vomiting some bile, I managed to stop, after much difficulty reaching the county town. I drove around the city several times before finally locating the police station and the fire brigade. Only after tying garlic to various parts of my body did I finally step out of the car. The zombies completely avoided me. I swaggered in, took the police batons and shields from the Public Security Bureau, searched around, and finally found a gun tucked in the corner of a desk from the fire station. I grabbed several sets of thick, specially made suits and several large rolls of hose. Fortunately, my strength was now sufficient, and carrying all this didn't feel the least bit strenuous. But where were the people in this small town, let alone trying to contact the city? No time to feel discouraged. I went back to the supermarket and took all the garlic inside, reaping a bountiful harvest. As I was about to leave the battlefield in my van, several men and women dressed in black suddenly appeared on a distant high-rise building. Captain, the Special Forces squad has assembled and is ready to execute the H-City extermination plan. Just as he spoke, the leading man narrowed his deep blue eyes and asked, "What's with that van?" The next moment, the man behind him raised a sniper rifle. "Let me see." Yet in the next instant, bang, a bullet tore through the sky. Oops, misfire. Bang, crash. When the bullet pierced through the co-pilot's windshield and blew up the passenger seat, I almost pissed myself. This was definitely no ordinary gun. Suddenly, the words, "Special Ops Team," flashed through my mind. My back is completely soaked. What the hell? They're killing everyone they see. Can't you see clearly? Where's your professional ethics? Thinking this, I cursed under my breath. Damn, where did these idiots come from? Can't we avoid trouble if we can't handle it? I quickly started the garlic car and rushed toward the town, on the other side. Before the sniper boy could speak, a long-haired girl in the team spoke expressionlessly. Report, Captain, it's a normal human. The sniper boy put away his gun and grinned nonchalantly while chewing gum. Interesting, there's actually someone in H City who isn't a zombie. With that, he blew a bubble at the girl. Hey, Luna, did you catch what she just said? You were quicker than me to judge. The girl's delicate face remained expressionless as she replied calmly. I heard her call us idiots. That single sentence darkened the expressions of all 5 people present. The sniper rifle boy's bubble exploded right in his face. Holy shit. Just as he was about to raise the sniper rifle again, the leader frowned and said, "Stop fooling around. The mission comes first. Execute." As I cursed and drove the car into the mountain road, zombies were being herded into the town in large numbers, without a windshield. My face was numb from the wind. I silently cursed the special squad in my heart several more times before finally making it back to town. Seeing me return safely, the townsfolk were overjoyed, but their hearts skipped a beat when they noticed the car window. Girl, what happened here? Was this done by zombies? Are you hurt? I scratched my head, unsure how to explain, and could only force a few awkward laughs to brush it off before quickly urging everyone to grab the weapons and equipment from the car. The top priority now is zombie defense. I asked the town elder to set up posts at the entrance, wrap them with water pipes, and hang strings of garlic on them. After checking the garlic sprouts several times, I had the town mayor arrange for the young adults in town to take shifts patrolling the fence with shields and batons. Any missing or fallen garlic, or any loose railings, needed to be promptly fixed. Only after positioning Kevin's car sideways at the town entrance did I finally go home for dinner, but after watching zombies all day, I didn't have much of an appetite. Dad was on shift tonight, and Mom, feeling a bit scared, watched me eat, unable to hide her worry. Sweetie, will our town be okay? I heard from Kevin's mom that those zombies are absolutely terrifying, so horrifying. I sipped my porridge and picked up a bite of bok choy. Mom, don't be afraid, just go about your usual routine. I'm here, my younger brother quickly chimed in from the side. Yeah, with big sis here, we're not scared. I smiled at my brother and told him to hurry up and go to sleep. Late at night, I pulled out that gun and fiddled with it for a long time before finally figuring it out, thanks to having watched a few anti-Japanese war films before. But this gun probably won't be needed anyway. Those zombies today didn't even dare to get close. Right, to them, this place is like a giant cesspool. What sane person would willingly jump into a cesspool? No way. Thinking, I drifted into slumber, yet I had been too optimistic about the situation. Kathy, something terrible has happened. When the calls came, it was just dawn, and I was so startled I nearly fell out of bed. What's wrong? I hurriedly put on my clothes and ran outside. It was Charles, panting. Zombies. The zombies are all outside the town. What? How could this be? How many? As I spoke, I was about to reach for the gun under the pillow, but Charles's words made it seem unnecessary. Countless, too many to count. What? How is this possible? I ran out in a hurry, my legs feeling weak. Are they about to storm into the town already? Charles got on his bike. No, they all seem reluctant to come in. They're all carrying something on their backs. I sat in the back seat, completely stunned. What kind of move is this? When Charles drove me to the town entrance, I finally understood. The zombies were just 5 meters away from the fence, densely packed like a wall, but they all turned their backs, unwilling to come closer. I climbed onto the roof of the van in just a few steps and looked into the distance. It was shocking to see. After just one night, the zombies outside the town had become an endless sea, densely packed and pushing forward. Holy shit, it's a zombie siege in the town. Meanwhile, on the other side, Captain, why did these zombies stop moving when they got here? The sniper boy raised his gun and started headshotting a group of zombies. The zombies have been enhanced now. You have to completely shatter their heads to stop them. The leading man stood atop a tall tree, his azure eyes also filled with confusion. What's that place ahead? As his words fell, the bespectacled man behind him immediately responded. That's Springtown. It's been over a month since the zombie outbreak. Based on survival probability, there should be no survivors left. The leader frowned, remaining silent for a moment before speaking. Halt the herding, I'll go check ahead. As soon as he finished speaking, the baby-faced girl quickly replied, Yes, Captain. With that, she lowered the 3 enormous garlic bulbs, now enlarged to who knows how many times their original size, from midair. In the next instant, the man vanished from his spot. Hey girl, what should we do about this? Yeah, with so many zombies, will they just storm into town tomorrow? This looks absolutely disgusting. I'm about to throw up yesterday's meal. Exactly. Auntie just took one glance at them, and her heart started pounding like crazy. It just wouldn't stop. Staring at these zombies, I felt completely overwhelmed. How strange. How could so many zombies appear all at once? I jumped off the van and accidentally caught sight of the bullet holes in the vehicle. Suddenly, I thought I understood. Damn it, it must be those idiots from the Special Forces team. Furious beyond measure, I couldn't help but blurt out a curse. Before I could explain to the townspeople, a man dressed in black suddenly appeared before me. The man was clad in black from head to toe, tall and imposing, exuding an intense aura that warned others to keep their distance, yet,
Do you struggle to get your writing just right? I know that feeling. That's why I partnered with Grammarly. Right over here, we have our intro paragraph on the site where I talk about how we make our cookies. Here, I can highlight all of this text. Because I have the Grammarly browser extension, over on the left-hand side, I get a sidebar. Here, I get different recommendations.
his striking azure eyes irresistibly drew curiosity toward him. His abrupt appearance nearly sent everyone present tumbling to the ground in fright. I was also deeply startled, but fortunately, those piercing blue eyes helped me recognize him instantly. Lucas, the male lead of this book, a teleportation and ice-based dual ability user. Are you insane? You scared the life out of me. Don't you know that? I patted my chest to calm my racing heart and quickly helped the town mayor up. Uncle, take the others back home. Look, this person is from the Special Abilities Squad. The city has sent someone. As soon as I finished speaking, the crowd erupted in excitement. The city has sent people to rescue us. Girl, you talk to them properly. Yes, yes, girl, you understand these things. Explain everything clearly to the comrades from the city. Before long, the group walked away chatting and laughing, as if it were just the most ordinary day. Yet Lucas didn't utter a single word from start to finish. I wasn't surprised either and pointed at the zombie horde outside. Is this your handiwork? Lucas frowned, glanced at the garlic door, and his expression turned extremely grave. Who are you? His tone was filled with wariness. Clearly, I know too much. I couldn't be bothered to explain either. With a forceful stomp on the ground, I smiled as it cracked beneath me. Same as you. A superhuman. Lucas continued to stare at me with those impossibly beautiful eyes, as if trying to see right through me. Being stared at by such a handsome man made me uncharacteristically uncomfortable, so I changed the subject. I didn't mean to scold you just now, but you guys really crossed the line, like taking a dump in a latrine. That's just too much. Not that I'm complaining. If they had at least given me a heads up, I wouldn't have been scared shitless by that zombie wall. Damn it, and last time they almost blew my head off. Sorry. Lucas's voice softened slightly. Just as I was about to forgive him, he spoke again. How many people are in the town? You need to relocate them today. With that one sentence, I was stunned. What? He's got the nerve to say it again. All the zombies in H City are heading towards Springtown, preparing to reach the depths of the mountains for missile annihilation. What the heck? The synopsis mentioned the male lead took on the extermination mission, but it didn't say how he'd do it, not to mention that Springtown is on the way. Are all the zombies in H City heading here? Screw this. Then what's the point of all the garlic I painstakingly planted? When the zombies pass through, the whole town will probably be flattened. Damn it, are you guys insane? Couldn't you have scouted ahead before coming? With so many zombies now, how are we supposed to run? Where can we even go? Not to mention the endless hordes of zombies still coming from behind. This is like awesome, opening the door for awesome, totally off the charts. That evening, all members of the special team arrived in the town. In the courtyard of the mayor's house, several large tables were set up, with the entire town present. The dishes were abundant, and all the chickens, ducks, and geese in the town met their fate. Come, come, let's toast to our comrades from the city. With that, the mayor led the way, standing up and downing a large bowl in one go. Immediately, the entire town stood up, raised their bowls, and drank in unison. I also stood up and raised my bowl of rice wine to the special team in front of me. Tonight, we would rely on these extraordinary individuals to lead us to the shelter. This is what we should do. Lucas stood up as he spoke, not drinking, but instead looking firmly at the people present. I glanced at him and quickly lowered my head to eat. After all, today's feast of meat and fish was a rare treat. Who knows if we'll get to eat like this at the shelter? Seeing my younger brother beside me devouring his food just as voraciously, I knew the saying was true, birds of a feather flock together. That night, the townspeople, all packed and ready, stood in neat rows at the town entrance. I carried all the big and small bags from home without feeling the slightest bit of weight, just waiting to see what this special team was capable of. Everyone line up in a row, I'll shrink you all in a moment, and then you'll walk into this little house, said the doll-faced girl as she placed a villa-like house on the ground. I was stunned. Wow, this superpower is absolutely amazing. The tiny house was incredibly spacious, and within minutes, hundreds of people from the entire town had entered it. I also curiously waited to shrink, but Lucas excluded me. Why won't you let me in? No way, this is discrimination, you're an ability user. We need your help for this migration plan. Weren't you supposed to carry out the annihilation plan? What the hell? Plan changed. Now we're in charge of the relocation mission. The shelter is far away, and we must ensure this task is completed flawlessly. Lucas's expression was extremely solemn. I silently swallowed hard. Why does this feel like a path of no return? I really don't want to die. But before I could think further, Lucas stepped closer to me, utterly sincere. Please, help us. Oh my, since you've put it that way, I can't really refuse. Guess I'll just have to carry an extra bag of garlic. Time is of the essence. We must leave City H as quickly as possible and head for the shelter in City S. I knew time was tight, but I had no idea it was this tight. One night, crossing an entire city. If it weren't in a novel, I'd only dare to think like this when riding a high-speed train. Got it, got it. So how do we get out of Springtown now? This is no time for hesitation, Jenny. In the blink of an eye, Lucas shouted at the baby-faced girl. The next moment, a giant garlic came crashing down from the sky. In an instant, the zombies scrambled to retreat to both sides. Now I understand why the zombies are crowding into the town. These massive piles of sky-high shit are no joke. I'm running out of energy. Could you give me a push, please? Jenny gave me a shy smile. But sweat kept pouring down her face. It was clear she had no strength left. I nodded hurriedly, grabbed the ice rod connecting Lucas to the 4 garlic bulbs, and moved forward. I couldn't help but marvel. This 4 garlic contraption was safe, but we were moving so slowly. When would we ever get out of the city? The swarming horde of zombies darkened the sky even further. At this rate, we won't be able to leave H City in a week. I was getting tired from pushing and couldn't help but complain. Do you guys even have a plan? Lucas remained silent. The bespectacled man behind him answered instead. All land and air transport in H City is completely paralyzed. The only thing we can rely on now is manpower. Manpower? Wow. So they're treating me like a laborer. I was speechless for a moment. Why don't we all shrink and have Lucas teleport us to the shelter? What kind of mage gets used as a warrior? But once again, I was being too optimistic. The teleportation distance is too far. Can't make it, can't make it. Then go as far as you can. Just don't get hit by the missiles. Are their special ops team really this stupid? Isn't the whole point of having superpowers to use them? At dawn, other special forces will take over to execute the annihilation plan. Hurry up and run, or we'll still be within missile range. Hey, how did you even get your powers? Don't you know? The boy holding the sniper rifle finally couldn't hold back from speaking up, however. He was interrupted by Lucas before he could finish his sentence. Let's keep moving. No. What am I supposed to know? Why did you stop mid-sentence? But looking at Lucas's completely cold expression, I didn't dare ask any more questions. I could only resign myself to continuing to push the garlic cart. By the time we got the garlic onto the main road, half of it was already gone. As dawn gradually broke, seeing the densely packed zombies on the highway, I thought of the garlic truck. Now, even if we had a vehicle, we probably couldn't drive it out, and to make matters worse, there were even a few bizarre zombie birds flying in the sky. This is the real apocalypse. Just as I was about to ask where to go, Lucas's voice turned ice cold as he shouted, "Special unit, execute the mission." I was startled by the sudden command. The next moment, birds in the sky were being shot down one by one. A giant garlic descended from the sky, and I saw the bespectacled man standing on it, saying, 10 miles to the southeast, there's a river flowing from northwest to southeast. In an instant, the long-haired girl quickly responded, the river has a steep drop and abundant water flow, which can significantly shorten the distance to the shelter. Their professionalism left me with my mouth agape in shock. Before I could even react, Lucas pulled me onto the garlic, and the next moment, a rushing river appeared before us. Knock. That was so fast. Then what was all that walking we just did? But I can't swim. Do we have a boat? But my worry was clearly unnecessary. The once turbulent water instantly transformed into ice, and Lucas's voice resounded firmly in my ear. push the garlic with all your strength. Damn, I've never played curling like this before, that's insane. The moment I sat on that garlic, my screams never stopped. This is way too intense. What kind of sane person rides a supersonic curling stone? I take back what I said about it being slow. This is seriously fast. I swear I could fly out of the solar system in a single day. My eyes were completely unable to open against the wind, and my scalp felt so tight from the gusts that it seemed my hair was about to leave me. I can't take it anymore. I seriously doubted that if my body weren't standing inside the garlic, I would have been blown away. Fortunately, just before I was blown senseless, the garlic skating came to a stop. With just one motion, I vomited. Ugh, the sky grew brighter, and as I was vomiting, I saw Lucas's walkie-talkie buzz a few times, but it was a bit too far away, so I couldn't make out what was being said. Good work, leave the rest to us. Lucas didn't wait for me to finish vomiting before having the baby-faced girl shrink me and stuff me into the house. I was completely stunned. What the hell is he doing? Isn't the shelter still ahead? They'd better get here soon. I don't want to be blown into people fragments by a missile. Right on cue, Mom's voice came from behind. Sweetie, you're back. Come here quick. Are you hungry? I brought some provisions. I patted my stomach. I'd thrown up everything earlier, but now that I'd calmed down, I really was hungry. Okay, Mom, why don't you get some sleep? The house had a hidden world inside, with neatly arranged iron bunk beds of varying heights. A perfect place for rest. Hey, how could I not worry when you're outside? I couldn't sleep. So, there's this girl from the city in here, and we just chatted for a bit. A girl from the city? I was puzzled. Who is it? Hello, my name is Mia. Following a sweet voice, I saw an exceptionally youthful and adorable face, and this name was all too familiar to me. She was the female lead of this story. Are you hurt? Are you okay? I initially thought the female lead was just a healing type character, but within just a few chapters, she had me so enchanted I wanted to give birth to her. Who wouldn't want such an adorable female lead? It's fine, it's fine. I just ran out of energy and needed to rest for a bit. Are they okay outside? As Mia spoke, she smiled, her large eyes sparkling like shooting stars, so bright it made my heart tremble. Knock, knock, knock. How could my adorable daughter end up with that ice block Lucas? This infuriates me. But the next moment, I caught the key information: energy depleted. Then you should rest quickly. Oh my goodness, can using this special ability too much really deplete your energy? Guess it's my fault for not reading enough novels. Mia was amused by my nervous expression. Why are you as worried about me as Ollie? How is he? He always loves to show off. Woo woo, my precious girl is truly the kindest and most adorable in the world. Even at a time like this, she's still worried about that blockhead of a male lead. But the next moment, I came to my senses. Oh no, oh no. I think I just pressured the male lead earlier, but I didn't know the supernatural ability would run out of energy. After all, I've never been in this situation before. But he's the male lead, nothing bad could possibly happen to him. So I smiled at Mia and said, don't worry, he's perfectly fine. After waking up from a nap in the house, I found myself already at the shelter, looking at the unfamiliar, antiquated buildings around me. I was momentarily dazed. How long has it been? My younger brother stayed by my side. After this zombie incident, he's matured a lot. Where are the townspeople? Did they go to eat? I yawned and wanted to go back to sleep. My younger brother had been sitting with his head bowed, then suddenly looked up and burst into tears. Sister, sister, those brothers and sisters in the city are dying. With those words, I felt as if struck by lightning. What kind of sick joke is this? My younger brother dragged me along as we ran wildly. Under the enormous light shield, an area spanning several hundred miles was completely protected, with soldiers standing guard on several towering structures. This was the sanctuary, yet at this moment, in a humble house within the sanctuary, Lucas and his special team lay on white sheets, receiving infusions of a peculiar serum, while Mia tearfully channeled energy into them. I was utterly panicked. What's going on here? They were perfectly fine before I entered the house. How could this happen? One person beside me lowered their head and spoke in a hushed voice. The density of zombies in H City triggered a riot. The higher-ups ordered Lucas's squad to expedite the relocation mission. To break through the rioting horde and complete the task, they exhausted all their energy, even burning their lives as a cost. How could this be? How could this happen? They have garlic, don't they? And they can teleport, right? How could this happen? I uttered these words almost without a doubt. It shouldn't be like this. Lucas was so calm and composed back then. Did he already plan to sacrifice himself at that time? How is that possible? He's the male lead, how could he possibly die? They're a special ops team. How could they really be a bunch of fools? Rioting zombies wouldn't be afraid of garlic. Would a madman fear shit? Teleport, teleport. It's the teleporting that drained Lucas's energy. But it's too far, just too far. The shelter is just too far away. The person beside them finally collapsed, squatting down as he clutched his head tightly. Jenny, Luna, Zoe, Wilson, they all gave it their all. Do you know how much Jenny had to zoom in with Wilson's sniper rifle to carve out a path? Do you know how sharp Lucy's hearing is? She's usually quiet, but she used ultrasonic waves to attack the zombies. Do you know how brilliant Zoe was? He knew everything. He knew H-City like the back of his hand. Did you see him cry like a helpless child when he carried everyone to the shelter and collapsed? To save you, they gave their lives. With that, the person rushed forward and pulled Mia aside. Mia. I'm so angry. I hate that I have the ability to access memories. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known. Lucas, he used teleportation over 100 times, and now I don't know how I made it back to my place. All I know is that the strange feeling in my heart made me cry uncontrollably. But all I ever wanted was to survive in this world. I never meant to kill anyone. The zombie eradication plan in City H was successfully completed, but the special task force was wiped out. And even the male protagonist Lucas didn't survive. I didn't finish the novel, but wasn't the ending supposed to be a happy one? Did I change the ending? Did I alter their mission? There shouldn't have been any survivors in Springtown originally, and there shouldn't have been a relocation plan. The special squad, they weren't supposed to die. My arrival became the blade that killed them. Garlic is useless. Garlic doesn't work anymore. How could zombies in a frenzied state still fear garlic? If I had been there at that moment, would the outcome have been different? Could I have saved them? Yet the answer is already painfully clear. In the face of such a devastating disaster, I couldn't have saved them. I'm not a real deity. I couldn't have saved them. At that moment, how helpless they must have been, using their lives as energy. It must have hurt so much. I can't stop myself from thinking about this. I know I shouldn't worry like some self-righteous saint. This is just how fate treats everyone differently. But I just can't help it. Those were living, breathing people. They weren't just simple names in a novel or background characters brushed aside. They had flesh and blood too. I was in such agony, my head splitting with pain, that I screamed and passed out. When I woke up again, I found myself in a hospital room, truly a fragile college student, so delicate yet so hard to kill. Do you have any idea how many days you've been unconscious? I stared blankly at the counselor before me, utterly bewildered. These past few days, could it all have been a dream? Panicking, I hastily grabbed my phone nearby and tapped into the book, Apocolypse Powers, Garlic Strikes Back, from my digital bookshelf. But before I could scroll to the ending, the counselor snatched my phone away. Still reading novels. Don't you know you fainted from staying up all night reading? You've been unconscious for 3 whole days. I couldn't listen to the counselor's words at all, feeling only an overwhelming sense of urgency. Counselor, give it to me. I need to see the ending. My voice was choked with sobs. Please, please, don't let them die. Okay, everyone in Springtown should be fine too. They are all living, breathing people, not just names on paper. What's wrong with you? The advisor handed the phone back to me, teasing with a smile. Do you love this novel so much? The author's name is Dora, right? I actually know them. As the advisor finished speaking, I was stunned. The world is really small, isn't it? Really? Can I meet her? It turns out that the special squad that completed the annihilation mission at the end of the novel also perished in the riot, but since Mia also died, it counts as a happy ending, for the sake of the characters in the book. I met her college roommate under the guidance of the instructor and told her everything that happened in the dream with deep emotion and sincerity. Author, can you write an extra chapter? Let them all live. After saying this, I burst into tears, unable to speak. They are not just words. They are all living, breathing people. I could feel it during those 3 months inside. I truly could feel them. I dare not forget a single one of them. Perhaps it was because I cried too loudly. But 3 days later, the big boss directly released Apocalypse Powers, Garlic Strikes Back 2. The story unfolded from my perspective of transmigrating into the book, but in the ending, everyone survived. I was recruited by the special squad, and the townspeople of Spring returned to their old place to grow garlic, becoming the famous garlic town. I looked at the novel and smiled for the first time in a while. Planting garlic in a zombie story was actually quite fun. that's all the story. What do you think of this story? Share with me in the comments section. What would you do if you were in this situation? Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time. Welcome to Last Dawn Stories channel. The apocalypse arrived, and the zombie outbreak began, yet my husband, a special police officer, wasn't by my side to protect me. Lola, don't be so selfish. I'm not just your support, others need me more. Unlike in my past life, I didn't beg him to stay and protect me and our 3-year-old Andy. Instead, I watched coldly as he took all the food and supplies from our home. I knew those precious canned goods would be handed over to the camp, becoming his bargaining chip to save the child of his childhood sweetheart, and I, without any food, could only survive with my child among the piles of corpses for half a year before crawling to the safety camp. Yet I never could have imagined, when I saw Devin again, it was him holding his childhood sweetheart's hand, strolling together in the safe camp at dusk, and my child, when discovered to be infected with the zombie virus, was shot dead by Devin's own hand. It's just a little zombie, Lola. Stop overthinking it. We can still have children. He holstered his gun, impatience brimming in his eyes. I finally remembered the little zombie under protective treatment at the hospital. That was his childhood sweetheart's child. Lola, I've taken the food from home. Go buy some to replenish it. The higher-ups have assigned a new task. Remember to take good care of Andy at home. Before Devin could finish speaking, I hung up the phone directly. In my past life, when I heard him say this, I foolishly hoped Devin would stay. Back then, Andy was still running a high fever, his little face burning red and covered in sweat. Even so, the child who knew nothing still kept calling out, "Daddy," with his little mouth. But before Devin left, he merely gave the child's cheek a routine kiss, just as he had done every time before. Then he eagerly ransacked the house, taking all the baby food and toys, even snatching away Andy's favorite teddy bear. He didn't care at all. Even when Andy saw him do it, although Andy didn't understand, he knew his dad liked his toys. As time passed, he would even wobble over to Devin with his favorite toy in hand. "Daddy, this, for you, can you stay with Andy? Andy misses you." But each time, Devin would just pause briefly, then coldly take the toy, praise with a, "Andy is so sensible," before walking away without looking back. Andy was left standing there dumbfounded, his arms hanging limply as he watched the retreating figure. I was curious about where all these toys had gone, but Devin would only frown and change the subject. "Lola, don't you know there are many children who can't afford these? Andy already has plenty of toys. He should learn to share with those less fortunate." He spoke in a casual tone, as if everything was a matter of course. If I asked further, the topic would shift to, "Lola, I know you've provided Andy with a solid material foundation, but precisely because of that, it's easier to foster a selfish personality in the child. Do you really want him to grow up as selfish as you were from childhood?" That's right, I was indeed born into a family with a good financial foundation. From childhood, I only needed to think about how to be happy, never having encountered what Devin called the hard life. Precisely because of this, when I saw Devin, born in an orphanage yet striving to become a special police officer in City A, I was completely smitten. Back then, he was serious and unsmiling, with sharp brows and bright eyes. When he came to our school, filled with spoiled rich kids, to give a lecture, he seemed perpetually wrapped in an icy aura that kept everyone at arm's length. And indeed, that was the case. Devin despises people like us. The more I pursue him, the more he despises me. He says that wealthy people like us have nothing but money, and our nature is despicable. In the end, he rejected my love but didn't refuse my money. Eerie black clouds loomed outside the window, the city's air tense as if about to explode. I stared at the message on my phone screen, my gaze as cold as still water. 3 days remained until the zombie outbreak. "Devin, you'll know, in the apocalypse, the despicable are always welcome. What is most needed in the apocalypse? Clean water and long-lasting food, and most importantly, an impregnable shelter. The housing prices in my neighborhood are extremely high, and shop rents have remained steep for a long time." Located in an affluent neighborhood with stringent food requirements, most residents consume fresh imported vegetables and meats air-shipped online. Few people frequent the convenience supermarket downstairs. Even Devin, when raiding the household groceries, selectively takes the high-priced items, leaving behind the fresh vegetables from the downstairs store with their occasional insect marks. If even Devin, who prides himself on not indulging in luxury, behaves this way, It goes without saying how the other residents in the community act. As a result, despite its low prices, the convenience supermarket was on the verge of closing just half a month after opening, so when I proposed taking over the supermarket, the owner beamed with joy and hastily signed the contract. "Ah, you're really doing me a huge favor." The vegetables and meat were piling up like mountains at my place, almost rotting away. "Disposing of them would cost a fortune. Since you're willing to take them, I'll give you an extra discount." The owner smiled with simple honesty, but I couldn't help feeling a bit uneasy. "Boss, keeping those vegetables and meat might not be a bad idea. It looks like rain is coming, and if transportation gets disrupted, they could still come in handy for emergencies." The boss looked out the window at the gloomy sky, lost in thought, nodding repeatedly. "You educated folks really see far ahead. The sky does look like it's about to pour down a storm, but no worries. I used to tinker with electrical appliances and still have a few spare compressors and solar generators left over from selling. They could keep dozens of supermarket refrigerators running for years without breaking down." "Ha ha ha." The boss laughed heartily, thinking he had just made a humorous joke, but my temples throbbed. Compressor motor, solar power generator, dozens of refrigerators in the supermarket. Isn't this just like someone delivering a pillow when you're sleepy? I perked up. "Boss, could you sell me a few of these as well? Better safe than sorry." "What do you need these for? What young lady buys such big items?" I hesitated before speaking, trying to remind the boss. Boss, if the world were to end in the next couple of days, having these would probably keep us going for a good while." "Hey, don't say such unlucky things. I've got plenty of generators here. There are several more in the supermarket warehouse. The city's got a new power grid now, so no one uses these old things anymore. If you need them, just go down and start them up." My eyes lit up. Getting these things wasn't exactly impossible, but right now, every bit of preparation I make is a race against time. If we were to airlift this equipment in at the last minute, not only would it take time and effort, but it would also raise suspicions. It is exactly what I hoped for, to let no one know about the coming crisis. In the past, I would have been overwhelmed by a surge of naive compassion, sounding the alarm and urging everyone to prepare, but recalling how, in my previous life, after the apocalypse first broke out, I shared my extra food with the people in the neighborhood, only to be met with their insatiable greed, I couldn't help but clench my fists. Those people were none other than Devon's distant relatives, who had sprung up like mushrooms after he moved into the villa and held a grand, lavish wedding with me. It's laughable to say, an orphan who had been ignored for over 20 years. Once he stepped into my home, it was as if all his relatives came rushing to kiss up to him. Dozens of ill-mannered uncles and aunts not only used Devon's name to demand I arrange accommodations for them, claiming they wanted to properly see this nephew or grandson they'd never met, but they also turned the entire neighborhood into a chaotic mess, driving away many of the original residents, and Devon never paid any attention to these complaints. All he knew was that these people were kind to him, making up for the lack of familial love he'd missed over the past 20 years. But he never stopped to think why these people would travel thousands of miles to a luxury neighborhood to claim kinship, or why they would be so eager to please a stranger they'd never met before, even when the luxury cars in the neighborhood were once again covered in scratches from stones thrown by a few unruly kids brought by his distant relatives, when the neighborhood statue was toppled by children, crushing the only rare peony. When the property management kept demanding tens of thousands from me to cover the damages to public facilities, Devon would only frown and retort, "Lola, is money all you care about? In your heart, you simply don't understand the meaning of family, do you?" I used to only be able to lower my head in embarrassment under his slightly disdainful gaze. As if having money was the original sin of my superficial hypocrisy, I even had to transfer 20,000 in living expenses every month into the accounts of these uncles and aunts under Devon's supervision. Only now have I finally understood. "Devon, you're the real hypocritical bitch. In my previous life, I was the biggest loser in the world." The last 24 hours before the apocalypse arrived, all the lists have been prepared. The most important categories of medicine were placed by me in an indestructible safe room. One of the 12 storage rooms was completely filled with purified water. The food had also been sorted by type and frozen in the supermarket's underground warehouse freezers. Most of Andy's baby food consisted of long shelf-life butterfly pasta, stocked in quantities sufficient to last through her early childhood. Behind the hidden warehouse, I urgently gathered a construction team to clear a temporary platform for installing solar generators. So far, the only thing I need to pay attention to is that concrete poured wall. It needs time to set before it reaches defensive strength. To avoid drawing attention, I even scattered seeds across this platform, making it seem like I was just clearing the land for a small vegetable garden. While I was focused on planting, a familiar voice reached my ears. "Lola, what are you doing?" I turned around and saw Devin with a displeased expression and Jenny clinging to his arm as if no one else was around. I frowned, secretly thinking this was bad as I poured another ladle of manure onto the vegetable patch. I hadn't had time to cut power to the electronic gate and lock down the house. These two had slipped in through the gap. Fortunately, I had already designed hidden doors for all the passageways in advance. From the outside, anyone entering the house would only see a corridor leading directly to the vegetable patch, with no access to the basement or the underground tunnel connecting to the supermarket. Right now, these two just think I've gone stir-crazy from staying at home and started growing vegetables to pass the time. That scoop of manure earlier was devastating. Not only did it make Jenny's eyes water uncontrollably, but it also gave her white dress a yellow highlight, mixing with her perfume and leaving her smelling like she'd just been fished out of a cesspool. She gritted her teeth in anger, but with tears in her eyes. She leaned softly against Devin and spoke. "Sister, even though brother isn't here, you can't just wreck his home like this." The more I listened, the more I wanted to laugh. I threw the ladle into the manure bucket, startling Jenny so much she trembled. "Lola, I think you've truly lost your mind. Where's the dignity befitting a proper woman?" Seeing his childhood sweetheart frightened out of her wits, Devin's face darkened with frosty anger, yet I only felt bitterness, not even sparing him a glance as I turned to face Jenny. "Whose house did you say this was? How amusing. Does this house have even the slightest connection to Devin, a low-level clerk who's been stuck in the same position for 10 years after marriage, earning just $3,800 a month? How many years would he have to go without eating or drinking to afford this neighborhood's $138,000 per square meter housing price? Yet here he is, eating my food, drinking my drinks, using my money to support another woman, and still has the nerve to act so self-righteous." "Of course it's Devin's home," Jenny pouted defiantly and retorted. She knew full well how shamelessly this woman had pursued brother Devin back then, not just smashing cars and throwing money around, but even gifting him a house with a grand gesture. A gifted house is like spilled water. It's not hers to reclaim. If it doesn't belong to brother Devin, could it possibly belong to a mere housewife like her? His home, I scoffed, leaning lazily against the wall with my arms crossed, tilting my chin toward Devin. "Why don't you ask him if his measly few thousand yuan salary can even afford a trash can from my bathroom?" As soon as the words left my mouth, Devin's face turned pale, looking at me as if he'd seen a ghost. Do you even know what you're saying?" He wasn't unaware of how much the home renovation cost. He knew all too well whether a single penny of his salary was spent on the household. During the day, he was a highly respected SWAT officer giving speeches everywhere, even using my money to do charity work and garner countless accolades. And just like that, he actually came to believe it was all his own doing. He had always been accustomed to this way of life, taking for granted the devotion of someone like me who fawned over him, elevating him to such heights that he truly believed himself to be a deity. But now, for the first time, I actually mocked him with my words. Years of dignity seemed to crack open violently, with insecurities rushing out through the fissure. It left him inexplicably unsettled. This panicked Devin is truly out of character. For the first time, Jenny felt a twinge of guilt. What's going on? Wasn't this woman completely infatuated with brother Lin? This is the first time she's made him lose face. Could she be driven mad with jealousy? What am I saying? I let out a cold snort, as if hearing something ridiculous. Bringing a strange woman into my home. Who gave you the nerve to question me? Strange woman? Devin suddenly felt a wave of relief. So she was jealous of Jenny. At this thought, Devin finally found his confidence. "Lola, don't be so hostile towards Jenny. She's always liked you a lot. We're not the kind of relationship you're imagining." Jenny's expression darkened instantly, her eyes glowering with barely contained fury. Devin remained oblivious, still staring intently at me, waiting for my response. I was utterly baffled. Whatever romantic entanglement these two had was none of my business. "Mommy," a sweet, childish voice suddenly called from behind. I quickly turned around and scooped up the little bundle behind me. "Andy, aren't you going to sleep?" I was completely focused on coaxing the rosy-cheeked Andy in my arms, completely forgetting about the two people behind me. "Mommy's not here. Andy can't sleep." Daddy's here too." Andy raised his little hand and waved gently in Devin's direction. "Daddy's here." Devin unexpectedly stepped closer into my embrace. He stood beside me and held Andy's little hand. I instinctively wanted to slap his hand away, but seeing Andy's small face, My expression softened again. For the past 3 years, Andy had never experienced a father's love. After today, he won't see Devon, that incompetent father, ever again. Let this be Andy's final farewell to his biological father. A last goodbye. Devon, unaware of my thoughts, simply looked up at me. His eyes suddenly tinged with a hint of tenderness. It sent chills down my spine. How disgusting. Jenny was so furious beside me that she almost ground her teeth to dust. She was about to speak, but I shot her a glare that made her quickly avert her gaze. Andy stared at Devon in my arms for a long time before suddenly asking, "What did Dad come for?" Devon was about to speak but seemed choked up, glancing at Jenny beside him, at a loss for words, watching their expressions from the side. I finally understood. Sure enough, she came again to scavenge whatever was left in the house. Andy's big eyes filled with confusion as he looked at Devon, then at this not so unfamiliar auntie standing before him. For some reason, his once bright eyes suddenly dimmed. He knew that every time his father brought this auntie over, they would take away his beloved things. But he wasn't angry, he was happy, because this also meant that Dad would glance at him, even if it meant taking something directly from his hands. Dad would finally notice his existence, but now, he had nothing left. Even the teddy bear that had been sleeping with him since birth, he had already given to that aunt. Does that mean Daddy won't be with me anymore? Andy lifted his little face, covered in tears. But, Andy has already given all his toys to Daddy. Andy has no toys left to keep Daddy with him. Devon stood frozen in place, feeling as if a fishbone were stuck in his throat. Did Andy think he had come back this time just to take his toys away again? It had never occurred to him that in Andy's eyes, he was that kind of father, a father so selfish and irresponsible. He wanted to argue, but the past was like an undeniable net, trapping him firmly. Yes, he had always taken Andy's most beloved toys and given them to Jenny's child. He always thought Andy was too young and had too much, so sharing with other children was no big deal. So he kept choosing to take away the little child's most cherished possessions right in front of Andy. He could no longer hold back. His eyes slightly moist as he crouched in front of Andy and murmured, "Andy, I'm sorry. It's Dad's fault. Dad will never do it again." The more I listened, the angrier I became, cutting him off abruptly. "Are you done pretending? How ironic. You bring women home, and now you're putting on this act of fatherly love, now that you're here, besides bringing outsiders to suck the last drop of blood from this family. Do you have any other reason?" "Lola, don't go too far." Jenny, who had been neglected for a long time, finally couldn't hold back any longer. She had originally wanted to see what else this home could offer her child, but not only had this suddenly hysterical woman verbally jabbed at her several times, but her dear brother Devon had even shown reluctance to leave this household. Not only was she forced to watch the heartwarming scene of this family of three, but brother Devon even acted subservient in front of her. Does this mean brother Devon no longer wants to take care of her in the future? She would never allow this to happen. "Lola, I came this time just to see if there's anything at home that needs my help. Brother Devon is about to go on a mission and won't be back for a while. The children at home are at an age where they need guidance. How can they be left without discipline?" The nerve that had been keeping her calm suddenly snapped. My gaze turned icy as I looked at Devon. "Word by word," he said. "You let a strange woman come to my house, wanting her to help me educate my child. Is that it?" "No. I just brought her to see the child." Devon instinctively denied it, the fear in his tone something even he didn't realize. I neither agreed nor disagreed, just stared coldly into his eyes. "Devon, I truly hope you live long enough to see the day of our divorce. That's my most sincere wish for you." As the words fell, a flicker of disbelief and panic flashed through Devon's eyes. "When did I say I wanted a divorce? Lola, can you stop being so temperamental?" At this point, I couldn't be bothered to argue with him about the divorce anymore. I was just about to stand up and show him the door when Devon grabbed my arm. His tone was urgent. "I know I've neglected you and Andy all these years, but I'm making up for it now, aren't I?" I found it laughable. "Making up? You mean repeatedly bringing outsiders into our home and letting them bully your own children? What did you say, Lola?" "Stop making baseless accusations." Jenny lunged at me, trying to cover my mouth, but Devon pulled her back. "I came here out of kindness to help you with the kids, and you're slandering Tom like this. What's wrong with you, Lola? You've got no conscience at all." I remained calm and unruffled. "Jenny, don't you know there are surveillance cameras everywhere in this house? How many things have you and your little thief son stolen from my home? Do I have to call the police before you'll honestly return what you took?" "You." Hearing the mention of police, Jenny panicked, but seeing Devon by her side, she regained her confidence. She was certain This woman was so infatuated with Devon that she would never call the police and risk tarnishing his reputation, so her threat to call the police was definitely just a bluff. Jenny's eyes darted. Fine, a clear conscience fears no false accusations. Go ahead and call the police. Better yet, let everyone see how you're slandering your husband's close friend. If you don't dare to call, then don't interfere with Devon's daily life from now on. Let me tell you, this time when brother Devon returns, he's taking me and Tom along. I scoffed and glanced at Devon, who instinctively averted his gaze. I nodded, as if I had just heard some meaningless nonsense. Don't worry. A 7-year-old stealing isn't illegal. I gently placed Andy on the luxurious little rocking bed in the bedroom and turned to close the soundproof door. Time was running out. I needed to discreetly send these two people away as soon as possible. But did you know, every penny Devon spent on you, I could sue you both for illegally transferring marital assets. Every little thing you and your son have sneaked out of this house. Making you cough it all back up would be as easy as flipping my hand. I leaned against the door, every word that left my lips dripping with a chill straight from hell, enough to make one's hair stand on end. But only I knew, money, laws, 24 hours from now, all of that would be utter bullshit. Jenny knew nothing, yet she was so frightened that she lowered her head and didn't dare say another word. But in Devon's eyes, it was my unreasonable threat. After a long while, Devon finally spoke. Lola, no matter how much you dislike Jenny and Tom, you can't spread such rumors about them. They can't compare to you, being the young ladies of wealthy families who can say whatever they please without concern. For the poor, the most precious thing is their self-respect. I know you don't like Jenny, and if you wish, I can keep my distance from her in the future. Brother Devon, Jenny cried out in desperation, only to be comfortingly pulled into Devon's embrace. Jenny, don't be afraid. There are many days ahead, and you must take care of yourself. Brother Devon, promise me that even if one day I'm no longer here, you'll still remember me, okay? I watched the two of them in their overly intimate posture without any reaction. Why did my past self tolerate these two people so unconditionally, to the point where even when everyone scolded me for being hopelessly indulgent, I still chose to believe in them? I don't feel heartbroken. I just hate myself for giving love to someone completely unworthy. Devon, let's get a divorce. Even though I knew it was meaningless, I still said it. Devon froze for a moment, then laughed lightly. What trick are you up to this time, Lola? Devon, do you really think Andy and I can't live without you, so you hurt us recklessly, believing we'd still forgive you? Devon's expression grew more resolute, yet his tone remained indifferent. I never thought that way, Lola. If you want a divorce, I'm taking Andy with me today. With a mother like you, I can't guarantee what kind of person he'll grow up to be. That's right, I am a bad person, not like your little sweetheart who sneaks around stealing chickens and dogs with her kid. So please, both of you, get as far away from me as possible. This isn't some den of thieves. I laughed wildly and unrestrained, completely indifferent to their faces turning green and white. Lola, apologize to Jenny. You can insult me all you want, but you can't disrespect Jenny, let alone slander her. Apologize. I got tired of listening, grabbed Jenny with one hand, and effortlessly tossed her out the door. She was thrown to the ground, dazed and disoriented, taking a long time to recover. Lola, are you crazy? Devon quickly walked out the door to help Jenny up, then turned to glare at me fiercely, as if looking at a madman. Sorry, my voice drifted out through the dense wire mesh above the courtyard before they could react. The gate slammed shut with a loud bang. Jenny leaned softly into Devon's arms. Still shaken, Brother Devon, that woman, she's so strong, like a madwoman. Let's get away from her quickly. We're going to the camp tomorrow. If she changes her mind and comes after us, it'll be even worse. Devon nodded, glancing back at the familiar front door with a strange feeling in his heart. Lola seemed like a completely different person. The piercing alarm was about to sound. Fortunately, the lullaby in Andy's bedroom remained unaffected. Residents, please be advised, this is the city emergency broadcast station. We have received reports from various districts indicating abnormal situations. Unexplained violent incidents have occurred in multiple locations across the city. Some residents are exhibiting abnormal behavior and attacking others. Please remain vigilant. The piercing broadcast sound rang out, accompanied by the first rays of sunlight and people's screams. It violently crashed into everyone's hearts. The intermittent mechanical voice grew increasingly eerie, resembling a real human. I covered Andy's ears and activated the noise-canceling mode in the children's room. We cannot confirm whether these violent acts are related to viral infection, but please try to avoid going outside. Maintain contact with the outside world, especially residents near the downtown area. Evacuate as soon as possible and head to the nearest safe shelter. The situation is critical, do not panic. Avoid conflicts with others, ensure your own safety. The broadcast paused, followed by the sound of rushing wind. It was as if the broadcaster was already losing control but forcing themselves to continue. Warning, multiple areas have reported violent and out-of-control incidents. If you encounter any unidentified, abnormal individuals in your vicinity, take immediate, self-defense measures. Reports indicate that victims attacked by these individuals rapidly lose responsiveness and transform into aggressive monsters, reiterating, do not engage with any abnormal personnel. The voice on the broadcast grew increasingly distorted, as if being consumed by some force. With a sudden, sharp cough, the final words were nearly cut off. Emergency contacts, please, protect everyone, ensure safety, stay tuned for further updates. Broadcast will pause, remain vigilant. The broadcast fell into deep silence, leaving only a piercing static noise. As if the very radio waves carrying the signal were collapsing, the air in the room grew thick, and I tightened my grip on Andy's small hand, silently gazing at the world outside through the 10-centimeter thick bulletproof observation window. In just a quarter of an hour, the world beyond the walls seemed to have turned into a living hell. Countless severed limbs flew through the air, while hordes of grotesque, freshly turned zombies with blood-stained mouths rampaged wildly through the streets. Pedestrians who couldn't escape in time were pounced upon, then pinned to the ground by swarming zombies, reduced to bare bones within seconds. This familiar scene awakened memories from my past life. I felt no panic at all, only the excitement of blood boiling within me. "Mom," Andy called out to me in a low voice, his warm little hand tightly clutching the hem of my clothes. "Mom's here." I snapped back to reality, gently covering Andy's eyes. My heart suddenly melted into a pool of tenderness. I crouched down and hugged the slightly startled Andy tightly, then magically produced a clumsy little teddy bear from behind. "It's Teddy." Andy hugged the stuffed animal in surprise. "Mom, did Teddy come back from his trip?" I nodded with a smile. "Of course. From now on Teddy will always be with Andy, never to be separated again." "Lola, the zombie outbreak has started. Are you and Andy okay?" Devon's urgent message came through the phone. After hesitating for a moment, I still called back. As soon as the call connected, Devon couldn't wait to ask, "Lola, is there any food left at home?" "Yes." I gripped the phone tightly, feeling a sudden, sharp pain in my heart. Don't ask that question again." But before I could calm down, Devon's words completely shattered my last shred of hope. "Lola, Jenny, and I only have a few dozen instant noodle cups left here. Do you think you could find a way to send over the food from home? Tom is picky and throws tantrums if he doesn't get Andy's baby food. Andy is older now and doesn't need so much baby food anymore, so just send over the extra portions too." I stood frozen with the phone in my hand, forcing a faint smile at the corner of my mouth. "Devon, oh Devon, why do I keep holding on to hope for you time and time again? Are my expectations of you too high? Is it wrong for me to believe a father should think more about his own child? Why do you always shower all your care and love on others?" Over and over again, as I thought this, my mind had already wandered far away. "Did you hear me, Lola? Lola?" On the phone, Devon's voice grew increasingly urgent with each call, and faintly, Jenny's weak words of comfort could be heard in the background. "Brother Devon, it's understandable if sister doesn't want to give. It's so dangerous outside, and supplies are so scarce. Even if there's a safe path in the villa, sister probably doesn't want to take the risk. It's okay, Tom and I can endure a little longer." "A safe path?" Devon sounded puzzled. "I don't recall any safe paths, but Jenny, you have a good memory. If that's really the case, then both Tom and you might be saved." My heart skipped a beat, but not because of Devon's damn words. How did Jenny know there was a small path beside the villa? This was something only the real estate agent showed me when I first bought the house. They said the original owner of this house was a billionaire who suffered from persecution paranoia, constantly muttering about the impending end of the world, so he secretly built an underground tunnel extending hundreds of meters, leading directly to the warehouse of a department store outside the residential area. He even quietly took over the entire operation rights of the department store, which meant that by purchasing this house at a high price, one could also inherit his usage rights to the department store. Although the homeowner suddenly disappeared afterward, and the house was foreclosed into my hands, I was the only one who knew about this matter from beginning to end, considering that this underground passage had already been built very securely. And given the urgency of the situation and the need for secrecy, I directly abandoned the idea of gathering a construction team to work on the passage. As a result, if anyone discovered this passage and followed it all the way forward, they would have direct and unobstructed access to the villa. I was certain that Devon, that hands-off landlord, would never find out about the underground passage during this time. But how did Lola come to know about the underground passage in this house? Without showing any reaction, I tentatively asked a question. The road next to the villa may be remote, but in this situation, anyone going out would attract zombies. Devon paused, as if realizing his words were inappropriate. I've thought about that. Don't be afraid, Lola. As long as you leave the stuff on the rooftop, the military helicopter will come and take it away. Devon, have you forgotten? I'm afraid of heights. The atmosphere suddenly turned quiet, and Devon was momentarily speechless. Yes. I'm afraid of heights. Whenever I stand at a high place, I can't stop trembling and my legs go weak. But I wasn't always like this. When I first met Devon, my hobbies were mountain climbing, bungee jumping, and rock climbing. I loved all kinds of thrilling outdoor activities, until that one time, on the day Devon and I got engaged, we threw the most spectacular cliffside party in the entire city. Somehow, Jenny slipped and fell off the cliff, dangling precariously from a dead tree on the edge. Without thinking twice, I rushed down in my wedding dress, determined to save her. Devon moved faster than me, brushing past me as he went. I saw the look in his eyes, so desperate, so heartbroken, as if the whole world was about to collapse before him. Devon lay on the edge of the cliff, gripping Jenny's hand with all his might until his hands twisted, finally pulling her up, cradling his dislocated hands. He held Jenny tightly as they walked toward the ambulance. I stood behind him, watching the two figures fade into the distance. Jenny sobbed inconsolably in his arms, with everyone gathered around her in concern, while no one noticed me. Out of nowhere, a pair of hands shoved me violently off the cliff. The thick, layered wedding dress hung heavily on that dead branch, the weighty tool engulfing me completely, leaving me powerless to struggle. I screamed in terror, but no one heard. Until a kind-hearted aunt wanted to take a photo of the scene, she finally noticed me. And my fiancé, Devon, was the last to know about what had happened to me. I knelt on the ground, crying my heart out, while he just sat there comforting me. Next time, don't ever throw such a party again. It's too dangerous. If something really bad happened, I'd be worried. Who is it that you're worried about? Blinded by love, I dared not think about it, nor did I want to. After a long while, Devon finally spoke again. His tone had softened a little. I know you don't like heights, so don't force yourself, Brother Devon. Jenny interrupted him, sounding displeased. If she doesn't bring us food, are we supposed to starve? It's just one woman and a 3-year-old child. How much could they possibly eat? There are 2 adults and 3 mouths to feed here. Devon, are you really trying to drive us to our deaths? The sudden apocalyptic environment had already pushed Jenny's nerves to the breaking point. At such a critical life and death moment, she truly had neither the mood nor the energy to maintain a gentle and obedient facade. Food and supplies in the military were already extremely scarce. If another crisis occurred, the elderly, weak, women, and children would be the first to be abandoned under such extreme conditions. Devon didn't have to worry about any of this. But without food, they would truly die. Jenny, how did you become like this? The sudden change left Devon completely unprepared. The woman before him bore no resemblance to the gentle girl in his memories. As if realizing her words and actions were inappropriate, Jenny immediately changed her tone. I didn't mean it that way, Brother Devon. I'm just so worried about you and Tom. I can go hungry. But Tom is still young, he's still growing. Sobs. As she spoke, Jenny began to sob again. Devon felt a pang of sympathy. I suddenly spoke up. Jenny, it's not that I don't want to help you, but look at the situation now. You have my husband by your side and the protection of the military, while I only have Andy and an empty house that could be invaded at any moment. Under these circumstances, even if I wanted to help, I simply can't. As I went on, my voice grew lower, as if weighed down by 1,000 pounds. Yet unwilling to reveal it and invite pity, Devon froze for a moment, his tone tinged with guilt. Jenny, I owe you an apology. It wasn't that I insisted on bringing Jenny here, it was Jenny herself. It's fine, I interrupted Devon's next words, still wearing an understanding expression. I know, Tom and Jenny are struggling as a single mother and orphan. We'll help where we can, but sometimes when we can't, we have to find a way to help. This time, we can only focus on taking care of ourselves first and get through this crisis together before we talk about what comes next. With just a few words, he completely blocked Jenny's argument. Sure enough, Jenny finally grew anxious. Who says so? There's still another passage at home. It leads directly to, Jenny suddenly froze. I keenly realized she had no idea where this passage led. Devon was completely baffled. What passage, Jenny? What are you talking about? This, Jenny stammered. She couldn't bring herself to tell the truth, but years of military vigilance made Devon suspicious. Jenny, there are things about my family even I don't know. Why do you know them so well? When I agreed to take you and Tom in, it wasn't so you could secretly investigate my family. I let out a mocking laugh, hung up the phone without hesitation, and yanked out the phone cord. Devon is highly suspicious by nature. Once he doubts someone, he keeps a close eye on them, believing only about 30% of whatever they say, just like the image he has of me, a liar who spews nothing but falsehoods. But with Devon's vigilance, Jenny's movements can be tightly controlled. With dozens of compressed motors, a yard full of solar generators, an entire warehouse stocked with meat and vegetables, and a completely empty department store at the end of the passage, Andy and I would become the most secure family in this apocalyptic city. A month passed, and I had gotten Andy accustomed to the routine between the villa and the department store, our daily life. The villa was equipped with 4 computers, 6 iPads, and 10 external hard drives already loaded with children's educational cartoons for all stages and the cheesy TV dramas I needed to catch up on. We could even lounge on the sofa, with Andy in my arms, watching Empresses in the Palace on the big screen. Mom, I want to be an ancient person too. Mom was just thinking the same thing. I slapped my head and made a quick decision to take Andy to the department store immediately. I remembered there was a shop inside, which had just released its latest collection before the zombie outbreak. When I usually take Andy there, both of us carry bags full of toys and some canned goods with long shelf lives. But this is the first time we've brought Andy to raid the clothing section. This time, we're definitely going to raid until we're satisfied. As soon as I entered the department store, I could sense something was off. The items in the store were noticeably more disorganized than usual, but the air carried no scent of bloody zombies. Instead, it was an overwhelming wave of perfume. I frowned. Even now, insisting on wearing such strong perfume was just like Jenny's style. In my past life, after struggling through countless hardships to reach the safe haven with Andy, battered and ragged, what I saw was Jenny, dressed in fine clothes and enveloped in perfume, leaning into Devon's arms, covering her nose with disdain as she laughed. Brother Devon, didn't you say Sister Lola has princess syndrome? In this world, what kind of princess crawls out of a cesspool? Yet Devon just stared at me, silent, as if unable to believe what had happened to me. The next second, a disheveled figure rolled to my side, covered in blood. Her tattered clothes clung to her body with dried blackish-brown wounds, several deep gashes revealing bone, a sight of utter brutality, until she struggled to turn over, revealing her face. Only then did I see clearly. It really was Jenny. Recognizing who I was, Jenny's face was filled with disbelief. You, ghost, a ghost. A piercing scream spread throughout the building. Frowning, I quickly stepped forward and firmly covered her mouth through her clothes. If you don't want to die, shut up. Screaming like this right now would definitely attract zombies. Jenny grabbed my hand, struggling like crazy. I don't know what trauma she had suffered, but she wouldn't let go until she felt the warmth of my palm. Then large teardrops began to fall. You're actually alive. Jenny's eyes were red from crying, but when she saw my exquisite cashmere coat and Andy dressed like a little princess, she wept even harder. Why do we have to struggle so hard while you live here comfortably like some noble lady? Why do you always act so superior no matter what? Why don't you just die? Why won't you die? How did you get here? Ignoring her nonsense, I cut straight to the point. Where's Devon? Where's Tom? Weren't you all at the camp? Why are you here alone now? Where did they go? A parasite would actually leave its host and its own offspring to travel alone. That's as rare as the sun rising from the west. Upon hearing the whereabouts of these two, Jenny's expression instantly turned horrified. Tom is infected. Contrary to her expectations, I wasn't shocked. Instead, I calmly pressed for more details. And then what? How dare you ask what happened next? Jenny's expression twisted into a snarl, filled with endless hatred. It's all because of you. Because you refused to share your extra supplies. Tom had to scavenge for food in the lab. That's how he got bitten by those experimental zombies. Now the camp won't take us in, and even Devon got kicked out because of us. I watched her quietly. Are you sure you went to the lab to pick up and eat, not to steal? Jenny's expression stiffened. And she turned her head away in embarrassment. I know, nothing can be hidden from you. Her voice trailed off, losing all its former arrogance. But I beg you, the child is innocent. It's my fault for not raising him right. Blame me if you must, but please, I beg you, save the child. I stared at her coldly for a long moment before finally speaking. Where are they? I've completely locked down all entrances of this department store, including the stairwell doors, with triple chains. Even if people or zombies try to break in, they won't be able to breach the multiple layers of defense to reach the upper floors. So, by now, Jenny must have gone through immense hardships just to enter this store. But she's likely only wandering around the first floor, where supplies are the scarcest, looking up. The only possible entry point is a narrow ventilation shaft 3 meters high. Following Jenny's pointing finger, I spotted 2 faint figures near the ventilation opening. The ventilation shaft leads to a transformer box 2 meters below. Devon pushed me in and told me to come find supplies. I watched her without saying yes or no. This woman wasn't telling the truth. In that case, once you find what you're looking for, you can go back the way you came, since you managed to get in here safely. Someone must have helped you. That person must care about you quite a bit. What do you mean? Jenny's eyes instantly filled with wariness. You know what I mean, those 2 outside the vent. They weren't really Devon and Tom, were they? Holding Andy, my expression turned stern. I don't know what your relationship with them is, but they clearly don't have friendly intentions toward me. If the vent hadn't been too small, they would have come in themselves long ago. There's no way they'd send you on this mission. A strange clattering sound came from the vent, and a familiar face suddenly loomed over the small opening. My blood ran cold, and my scalp tingled with fear. It was that agent. No wonder Jenny could pinpoint this department store so accurately. She had been colluding with this agent all along. That usually honest and simple-looking face was now covered with ferocious laugh lines. Madam, you're not dead yet, what a pity. Your man clearly doesn't care about this family at all, yet why are all the doors locked? I can't even find a single entrance. My whole body turned cold. So that's how it was. So he had planned all along to enter my villa through this passage. He had known all along that Devon was a man who paid no attention to his wife and children, which is why he had been waiting for the opportunity to break in. I held Andy tighter, feeling an overwhelming sense of relief. As if we had narrowly escaped disaster, the narrow ventilation shaft now seemed incredibly sturdy. The small exit, built like a fortress of steel and iron, was more than enough to block the 2 men's advance. Another man suddenly appeared and pushed the agent aside. Miss Lola, don't you remember me? He smiled with an honest and simple expression, but I recognized him at a glance. He was that unfamiliar uncle at the engagement ceremony. Back then, I was young and fearless in everything I did. Even if there was an extra person at the engagement banquet, I just assumed it was a kind stranger wanting to share in the joyous occasion. Do you know that the last thing I saw as I fell off the cliff was his face? I finally understood who it was that pushed me down back then. Standing at the other end of the hallway, I held Andy tightly and stared at Jenny. Lola, don't look at me like that. I just wanted to live. Just wanted to live, sobbed, realizing her accomplice couldn't enter. Jenny completely lost hope. She collapsed to the ground, sobbing uncontrollably, blood streaming from her body. Between sobs, she questioned, why won't you ever let me go? I have nothing. I grew up as an orphan with him, and Devon was the only one in my world. Why must you take away the last bit of warmth in my life? I simply found it utterly unreasonable. Do you think I stole him from you, so you want to kill me? I took out the text message Devon sent me and placed it in front of her. Take a good look. Ever since I found out about you, I immediately broke up with him. He clearly told me back then that he only saw you as a sister, and he would personally explain it to you to make sure you didn't have any unnecessary thoughts. Another photo. It was also him, kneeling before me, swearing he wouldn't let me misunderstand. I flung the phone in front of her. Jenny lunged for the phone like a dying fish gasping for oxygen, her trembling hands frantically swiping through each photo. In the photos, Devon still wore that cold expression, except in some he was kneeling, in others slapping himself. It was right after I graduated. My parents passed away in an accident, and I inherited $3 billion in assets, completely transforming into a rebellious rich girl. I spent money lavishly, turning the icy and aloof Devon into my exclusive dating partner. I thought his reluctant yet willing companionship was his way of indulging me. My numbness towards money made me completely unable to comprehend the saying that money makes the mare go. I only thought it was natural to spend money on someone I liked, never imagining this would become the sole reason Devon abandoned his dignity, even when he was willing to draw a clear line with Jenny for me, or rather, for money. and even voluntarily kneeled and slapped himself. I still believed it was because of his love for me. Jenny stared at me in disbelief. No, it can't be. Why would Brother Devon do this? I let out a cold snort. Because he didn't want to break up with me. No, that's not true. Jenny clutched her head, screaming in utter despair. He doesn't love you at all. He only loves your money. That's the only reason he's doing this. My laughter grew even more sardonic. See, you know it all. You understand everything. He's only with me for my money. Is a man like that really worth your devotion? You're a person, a living, breathing human being. You have Tom. You raised him, you're a wonderful mother, you could use the resources around you, even leverage Devon to give you and your son a better life. But do you honestly believe a man like that deserves your love? Jenny looked up in a daze, as if she had found herself for the first time. Her tone was calm, no longer carrying that coquettish manner of trying to please men. Lola, thank you for telling me this. She struggled to stand up. Tom and Devon, in a small shed behind the department store, of these two. Only the agent was arranged by me. The man at the cliffside party wasn't my doing. I froze, following her gaze with my eyes. Jenny's abdomen had a fist-sized bloody hole, inside which was stuffed a device that beeped and flashed red lights. In my entire life, I've only spoken this one truth. Lola, save my child, live well. She staggered to the door, each step leaving a deeper trail of blood beneath her feet. After Devon was driven out, he was severely injured and lost too much blood. He's gone. I cough, won't last much longer either. In times like these, people like me are just burdens if we stay alive. Clutching her abdomen, she painstakingly dragged herself toward the ventilation shaft. She was determined to crawl out by sheer force, until half her body was hanging out of the vent. The two men outside finally understood her intention. She was going to take them all down with her. The two men were horrified, frantically jabbing Jenny's head and shoulders with their electric batons, yet Jenny clung desperately to the air vent. She was beaten bloody by the batons, with several of her teeth shattered, but she smiled, a smile carrying the freedom of release. Finally, she crawled out through the vent, and the moment she fell outside, a tremendous explosion drowned out the screams and curses of the two men. In an instant, countless zombies outside the mall were obliterated in the blaze. I tightly covered Andy's ears, not realizing until then that tears had long been streaming down my face. That's all the story. What do you think of this story? Share with me in the comments section. What would you do if you were in this situation? Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.
It was part of a larger tapestry, and that tapestry was unraveling. All right, I said, feeling the weight of destiny settle upon me. Where do we start? Kithara led me through the station's gleaming corridors, explaining how the echoes were linked, each a node in a vast, cosmic web. We reached a chamber, walls lined with crystalline displays that pulsed with data. It was a command center, a nerve hub for the entire network. Reeve joined us, his expression a mix of
Don't just put me into a life that I didn't solicit to be in. Okay, so this is where we decide whether we stop here or try to keep going. I'll try for now, but I think I need to use the potty first, so I'll be right back. Let me make sure that I've paused properly. There we go. I will be right back. Oh, I think I need to get another ice pack for my head. Heat migraine. Ironically, I only realized that that's what it was whenever we moved away from a state where it's always hot. Explains why I get fewer of them now. has obtained snack ice pack. Mm. Now we shove the ice pack in the nearest spot that might actually help. It's ironic that it took me almost 3 years after leaving Arizona, the hot part, which is most of it, but the hot part. Um, where we live now, though, we only get like probably like 2 or 3 months of actual summer. Everything else is chaos. And even then, we might get a summer interruption of chaos, so yeah. Adulthood taught me that everything I was told about the seasons was out of date completely because it was meant for entirely different parts of the world. Alright, let's get this going.
Welcome to Last Dawn Stories channel. In the third year of the apocalypse, my kind-hearted sister-in-law insisted on sharing the flour my husband had risked his life to obtain with others. When I disagreed, she went around telling everyone that we had flour at home. Starving people, desperate and reckless, stormed into our shack and looted the flour. In the chaos, I was beaten to death while protecting my daughter, but my sister-in-law only shed a few tears before moving on. Becoming the most benevolent angel in the base, she used this opportunity to take my space, and with the spiritual spring inside it, she married the leader of the first base, becoming the epitome of good people get good rewards. In this second life, I no longer stop her from distributing flour to everyone. Sister-in-law, how can you be so selfish? Everyone is struggling right now. We have so much flour. What's wrong with sharing some with others? That voice, it's Susan. I snapped out of my daze and clearly saw my sister-in-law standing before me. The gaunt face, pale and cracked lips, pitiful and feeble appearance was shocking to see. Clearly the result of years of starvation. Was this still the wealthy lady who once stood above all others? Before I died, she had used this same pitiful and feeble demeanor. Standing at the doorstep, she loudly demanded that I share the noodles with others. When those with ill intentions overheard, they beat us, mother and daughter, to death. Seeing that I remained silent, she frowned, her gentle tone laced with accusation. We can't possibly finish all these noodles ourselves, so we should share some. Don't be so selfish. We'll need our neighbors' help in the future, won't we? Exactly. Susan here is so sensible, unlike your sister-in-law, who reeks of stinginess. A familiar face, barely concealing its greed, stared intently at what was behind me. My heart skipped a beat. Wasn't this Kathy? My neighbor who had already died? What were they saying? Flour? Could it be that I've been reborn? Reborn to the moment when Susan asked me to give up the flour. I instinctively turned to look behind me, where my 6-year-old daughter was peeking out from the corner with wide eyes. It's Doris, alive. I clenched my fists, suppressing the urge to tear Susan to pieces, and forced a reluctant expression. But your brother risked his life to get this for Doris. She's already 6 and has never had a full meal, has she? That's exactly what I said in my past life, just as in her previous life. Susan raised her voice. Doris is only 6 years old and doesn't eat much. It's not easy for any of the neighbors either. It's just some flour. We can always go out and find more. Easy for her to say. It's already the third year of the apocalypse. Where exactly is there any more supplies to find outside, when my husband was still alive? He always spoiled his younger sister. Susan had never left the L City base for missions, so naturally, she had no idea how harsh the outside world could be. She always prided herself on being a kind-hearted fairy who couldn't bear to see suffering in the world. Countless items from her home had been given away to help others. Because of this, I lost track of how many arguments we had, in this second chance at life. I don't plan to stop her anymore, I sighed, as if making a difficult decision. You're right, I was being a bit selfish. Susan, go call the neighbors around here. I'll share the flour with everyone. Kathy had been egging me on from the side. The moment she heard me relent, she was overjoyed and tugged at my arm, saying, that's more like it. A close neighbor is better than a distant relative. Let me help you. Doris's mom, under Kathy's watchful gaze, I had no choice but to bring out all the flour I had hidden. 5 pounds of flour seemed like a lot. But everyone living nearby was struggling to get enough to eat. I handed the entire bag of flour to Kathy, my eyes fixed on it, feeling extremely reluctant to part with it. Kathy, Doris isn't feeling well. Could you please distribute this flour to everyone? When Susan and I were arguing, many people were secretly listening in. As soon as they heard I was going to share the flour, they immediately gathered around from all directions. Aunt Doris, you're truly a kind-hearted person. My little grandson hasn't eaten for 3 days. Have pity on me and give me a bit more. Kathy, our whole family has been starving for 3 days. Be merciful and give it to me first. Pa, you damn old hag, I could still smell meat cooking at your place yesterday. How dare you come begging for others' rations? Have you no shame left? Kathy, you old bitch, how dare you give me so little? Are you trying to hoard it for your good-for-nothing son? Everyone was arguing in chaos, their craving for food bringing out the darkest sides of human nature. The burly men who often loitered around the area also gathered, glaring fiercely at the flour in Kathy's hands. Kathy usually loved to take petty advantages, but she felt intimidated facing these people. I was also thinking, for everyone's sake, let's talk this out properly. No violence. These men usually engage in all sorts of shady activities, often making excuses to collect so-called protection fees. They have numbers on their side, all being men, so most people don't dare to provoke them. As the men closed in, Kathy trembled with fear and quickly turned her gaze toward me, but I was nowhere to be seen. With the experience from my past life, I had long sensed something was wrong and quietly returned to the shack. The shack was already nearly empty. After my husband's death, Susan had taken countless things out to help others. I didn't have time to think about anything else. So I rummaged under the mattress at the foot of the bed and pulled out a jewelry box. In my past life, after I died, I didn't immediately vanish but instead lingered as a spirit, following Susan around. After Doris and I were beaten to death, Susan shed a few tears and hypocritically said she didn't blame those people, that life was hard for everyone, and that she forgave them on behalf of her sister-in-law. Killing someone in the base would result in being sent outside to clean up zombies. Her actions instead allowed those people to escape punishment. Everyone praised her as kind-hearted, the most angelic sister in the base. The jewelry box also fell into her hands. Among them was a set of keys. These keys were nothing special, but one of them was the key to an antique lock left by Grandma. That lock was an old relic, so I had kept the key as a decoration hanging on my keychain. In her previous life, after my sister-in-law took the jewelry box, she also took the jade bracelet and gold ring inside. She tossed the key aside. Later, during the zombie siege, she accidentally pricked her finger and dripped blood onto that key. Only then did she discover it concealed a space like those found only in novels. The people outside were still making noise. With a determined heart, I cut my finger with a knife and let the blood drip onto that key. I felt an alternate dimension space appear in my mind. I knew it. It worked. I quickly stored the gold rings and necklaces from the box into the space. Sister-in-law, what are you hiding here for? Susan's gentle voice rang out behind me, yet I couldn't help but shiver. Though it was a soft voice, to me it felt like the ominous whisper of a demon I couldn't escape. Every word she spoke could be the death of me. It's nothing. There's no food left at home. I'm taking these things to sell them and see if I can get some food for Doris. Susan kept staring at me with suspicion in her eyes, making me feel uneasy all over. She reached out and took the box from my hands, pulling out the jade bracelet inside. Tiffany, how could you selfishly hide such a valuable bracelet? Have you forgotten what my brother said? You're supposed to take good care of me. That phrase again. I'm really sick of hearing that we have to take care of her. My husband died trying to find food for Doris. Doris is already 6 years old, but she's as thin as a 3 or 4-year-old child. When my husband was still alive, he was especially indulgent towards his younger sister Susan. He thought Susan was still young, and it wasn't a big deal for her to give away food to others. Susan is just naturally kind-hearted. It's just some food and daily necessities. Let her give them away. Don't be so petty. I couldn't be by our parents' side during the apocalypse, and I feel guilty towards them. Susan is my only sister left. I must treat her well. Doris has the love of both of us, but Susan only has me, her brother. Back then, the apocalypse had just begun, and supplies were scattered everywhere outside. Even ordinary people like us without special abilities could survive as long as we were bold enough to scavenge for supplies. Little did I expect that it would make Susan's greed grow uncontrollably. In the 3rd year of the apocalypse, supplies outside were becoming increasingly scarce. and our lives grew even more difficult. After she once again gave away our food, leaving Doris to go hungry, I lost my temper with my husband. If Susan continued like this, I would take Doris and marry someone else. My husband panicked and quickly promised that from then on, none of the supplies we found would be given to Susan anymore. I never expected this to be the last time I'd lose my temper with my husband, while out searching for supplies. He suffered severe injuries and died, leaving me with only a final request to take care of his younger sister. The team leader, out of respect for his death, gave me a small bag of flour as a form of compensation, yet even then, I still couldn't manage to hold on to this last remaining possession. The culprit, Susan, wearing my jade bracelet on her wrist, curled her lips in disdain. Sister-in-law, I'm hungry. Make me something to eat. I put the keys away and said calmly, there's no food left. Go hungry. I don't believe it. Susan stared at me with piercing eyes, gnashing her teeth as she said, you must be hoarding something. You're so selfish, only thinking about yourself. Is this how you take care of me? Her finger practically jabbed at my face. I had never seen her this worked up before. She probably never expected that I, her sister-in-law who had always catered to her every whim, would refuse her. I pushed her finger away and retorted. Weren't you the one who told me to share with everyone? I've already given away the last of the flour. If you don't believe me, go search for yourself. Susan looked skeptical and began rummaging through the shack. There was no food left to be found. That flour was our last bit of provisions. Clearly unconvinced, Susan turned the entire shack upside down, even searching Doris's person. Perhaps she truly realized we had no food left. Her voice turning shrill, was it you? Did you hide the food? It must be you, you selfish brat. Doris was frightened by her outburst and burst into tears with a loud wail. I quickly picked Doris up and cradled her in my arms, soothing her softly. Believe what you want. In my previous life, after I was beaten to death, those who participated in the looting were afraid of being implicated. Many returned the food they had taken, and some even compensated with extra. Susan accepted it all without realizing it was our last ration, seeing her persistent disbelief. I let out a cold laugh. In the past, my husband protected her, preferring to take food from my hands rather than let Susan go hungry. She herself didn't understand the value of food. It seems the knife must fall on her own head before she feels the pain. Doris stopped crying and whispered to me, Mom, I'm so hungry. A surge of bitterness welled up in my heart, and I nearly shed tears. Mommy will go out to find food for you, okay? Doris is the most well-behaved. Can you hold on a little longer? She obediently hugged me. Doris will be good. Doris isn't hungry. In both lifetimes, the one I've failed the most is Doris. She became my daughter but never enjoyed any happiness, yet had to die because of Susan. In this lifetime, I must make it up to Doris properly. Seeing me carrying Doris out, Susan hurried forward to stop me. Sister-in-law, where are you taking Doris? Don't tell me you're abandoning me. Have you forgotten what you promised my brother? Stay here and starve. No, you can't leave. Susan screamed, and the people who had just dispersed began to reappear nearby. Tiffany, are you trying to abandon me? My brother was right. You're nothing but a restless bitch. He died for you, and now you're ungrateful enough to leave me behind. How can you face him after this? Seeing more and more people gathering around, I frowned and said, didn't you hear Doris say she's hungry? I'm going to find food for Doris. Stop talking nonsense. Susan rushed forward and snatched Doris from my arms. I don't believe you. Leave Doris here and go find food for me. Before I could react, someone emerged from the shack next door. A foul-smelling, greasy-haired man approached with malicious intent in his eyes. Oh my, what's wrong with little sister Susan? This short, obese man covered in fat was Kathy's son Charles. Ever since my husband died, he had frequently harassed me with his words. Charles, don't blame sister-in-law. It's all my fault for not taking good care of Doris. Which is why sister-in-law doesn't trust me. Sob. Susan opened her mouth, and tears instantly streamed down her face. Anyone who didn't know better would think she had suffered some great injustice. Charles took a step forward, shielding Susan behind him, eyeing me with ill intent. Sister-in-law, don't worry about going to find supplies. I'll definitely help you take good care of Doris. He was doing it on purpose. In the past, Susan often gave things to Kathy, so he deliberately used Doris to threaten me. After all, Susan is Doris's aunt, so Doris should be safe for now. I simply couldn't snatch Doris away, so I had no choice but to leave, turning back every few steps. Susan, take good care of Doris. I'll go find some food and come back. Worried about Doris, I hurriedly found a corner and took out the gold ring from my space. It was only the third year of the apocalypse, and gold still held some purchasing power. I went to the black market in the base and traded a gold ring for some sweet potatoes and potatoes, which are currently the most common food items available in the base. In a few more years, there will only be cornmeal mixed with dirt, even for these meager supplies. I had to visit several stalls to make the exchange. The base is crowded and noisy, and as a woman, having too many resources would easily draw unwanted attention. I only carried back 2 or 3 sweet potatoes the size of a palm in my hands, while the rest were hidden in my space. Back at the shack, Doris sat on the ground wailing loudly, while Susan frowned as she sat nearby. Can you stop crying already? It's so annoying. I quickly stepped forward and picked Doris up. Don't be afraid, Doris. Mommy's here. Susan saw the sweet potatoes in my hand and complained, sweet potatoes again? I don't want to eat them. Tiffany, don't even try to fool me. You're just selfish. You must be hiding the good stuff. Brother brought back so much food before. I refuse to believe there's nothing left in the house. Eat it or starve. If you don't want it, get out. I lost my temper, and Susan seemed frightened by my outburst. She muttered a few words but didn't dare say anything more. I was afraid she would give the food to others again, so I held Doris and lit a fire to cook the sweet potatoes. Doris ate the boiled sweet potatoes, her eyes shining. Mommy, it's sweet. Suppressing the ache in my heart, I broke off another piece for her. Eat more, Doris. Susan sat in the corner, silent, finishing the extra piece of sweet potato. After a tiring day, I can finally stop and sort out the chaotic thoughts since my rebirth. This base is definitely no longer safe to stay in. In another 6 months, a zombie siege will occur. I must take Doris and head north to the first base in City A and advance. As for Susan, that troublemaker who caused my death in my past life, I won't take her life because I promised my husband, but I won't lift a finger to help her anymore. My husband died for Doris, and both Doris and I have repaid her with our lives. We owe her nothing now. It's the apocalypse now, and people die every day for various reasons. Whether
How
Susan can
is the
survive
stream
depends
going on a
entirely on
small
herself.
break?
I
Thanks
have a
for joining
space,
while you're on
though
a
I haven't
break.
had the chance to enter it yet, but in my past life,
Quiet,
I saw Susan use it, so I have
migraine,
some
still
understanding of this
there.
space. Doris could simply stay inside the space, but now I have neither special abilities nor
Thank you
money,
for
and
asking.
even getting food is a problem. The outside world is too chaotic. I need to prepare in advance. The next morning when I went to fetch water, Sister Wang, who lived in the shack next to the Cathy family, secretly pulled me aside. Doris's mom, last night I heard your sister-in-law went to Kathy's house and said, I already forced her to hand over the stuff, yet you, this useless piece of trash, couldn't even finish off that bitch. That doesn't sound right. You should be careful. I was somewhat shocked, but still thanked her. I had always thought that in our previous life, Susan's unreasonable behavior was what led to the deaths of both me and my daughter. Could it be that she deliberately caused the deaths of me and Doris? My heart sank, and I found it hard to accept. It's been 3 years into the apocalypse, yet Susan still lives as if it were before the end times. I thought I had done everything possible to be kind to her, never expecting she would treat Doris and me like this. Wait, Doris. I hurried back to the shack with the water bucket, only to find Doris was gone. Faint laughter came from the neighboring shack, and I quickly knocked on the Cathy family's door. Doris was being held by Susan, her lips trembling as if she was about to cry but holding back. Charles, his face greasy, was just reaching out to pinch Doris's cheek. Doris, what are you doing? I immediately called out to Charles, rushing forward to take Doris into my arms. Unexpectedly, Cathy suddenly appeared out of nowhere and blocked me. Doris, Mom, why are you so worked up? Charles just likes playing with children, that's all. Susan hugged Doris tightly, still wearing a gentle smile, but a hint of smugness flashed in her eyes. Sister-in-law, I brought Doris to Kathy's house to play. Doris is hungry, so hurry and find some food for her. Don't worry, I promise to take good care of Doris. I was furious but held back, afraid to step forward because Doris was in her hands, afraid she might do something to Doris. Charles looked me up and down with ill intentions, his gaze utterly disgusting. Exactly, sister-in-law. You go ahead and find food, or else Doris will go hungry. That vicious woman Susan, she actually used Doris to threaten me with outsiders. I clenched my fists, not daring to confront her directly. Take good care of Doris, I'll go find supplies. For Doris's sake, I had no choice but to cut my hair and change into men's clothing, disguising myself as a man before boarding the vehicle heading outside the base. At the beginning of the apocalypse, I had also gone out with my husband to search for supplies. Later, the outside world became increasingly dangerous, and fewer women went out, so my husband wouldn't let me go anymore. But I never expected Susan to be so despicable, using Doris to force me out of the base to search for supplies. I clenched my fists, hating myself for being too soft-hearted. I should have killed that troublemaker the moment I had the chance. The base's transport vehicle made one trip daily, dropping ordinary people like me off at the cleared-out town before returning, then coming back again in the evening. The supernaturals had the power, and after 3 years in the apocalypse, they had already claimed all the drivable vehicles. If Doris and I wanted to go to the first base, we would have to hand over supplies to the caravan and hitch a ride with them. Even with my spatial ability, I still had to figure out a way to gather the required supplies. Turning down invitations to join other teams, I set off alone in the chosen direction. I must go out and gain experience if I want to leave this place. Without the ability to protect myself, how can a woman like me survive in this apocalyptic world with Doris? Thinking of this, I tightened my grip on the machete and charged at a lone zombie. After a great struggle, I finally managed to kill the zombie. My right foot twisted during the escape, the pain searing. But I couldn't stop. I dug out the crystal core and hurried into the residential building. Every zombie has this crystal core inside, but it's useless to both ability users and ordinary people, just like an ordinary stone by the roadside. I always felt it shouldn't be like this, so I decided to collect them, store it in the space. It might come in handy someday. The shops along the main roads have already been looted by wave after wave of people. Only the more remote residential buildings might still have some supplies left. Finding a zombie-free house, I decided to check inside the space. The space was just like in the novels, a small world of its own, though there was no wooden cabin or cultivation techniques. It had a lush, towering tree and a spring of spiritual water. I couldn't wait and took 2 sips of the spiritual spring. Instantly, all the discomfort in my body vanished, just as the novels described. No wonder Susan managed to marry the leader of the first base with the help of this spiritual spring. In this lifetime, all of these are mine. With this space, I can definitely give Doris a good life. Thinking of Doris, I wasted no more time and left the space to search for supplies. This residential building has over 30 floors, and I searched through it one household at a time. There was very little edible food, but I managed to gather a lot of daily necessities. These are all non-renewable resources. They'll always be useful, no matter when. Suddenly, I faintly heard the sound of footsteps, very light, but impossible to ignore. I tightened my grip on the long knife in my hand, slowly moved behind the door, and held my breath. Now, I could finally hear the breathing of the person outside the door. Who is it? Did you follow me in, or just passing by? In the apocalypse, laws and rules no longer exist. What's more terrifying than zombies are living humans. Without showing any reaction, I felt for the large wardrobe nearby, stored it in my space, and then entered the space myself. I can see what's happening outside the space as long as I want to. After about 5 minutes, I finally heard sounds outside the door. Charles, why is it silent? Did that bitch notice something? Damn it, let's go in and check. It's Charles's voice. When did he start following me? The door was kicked open, and Charles along with an unfamiliar man rushed in, then began rummaging everywhere. Fuck, when did that bitch run away? I clearly saw her come in. Damn it, don't let me catch her, or I'll definitely. Charles cursed angrily and slammed the door as he left. Every hair on my body stood on end. I never imagined that Charles would actually want to kill me. Overwhelming fear engulfed me. When had he started planning this? Was this also Susan's idea? Just because I wouldn't let Susan give things to others, she actually hated me to this extent, going to any lengths to kill me. So was she doing it on purpose in our past life? My thoughts were in complete disarray, my entire being consumed by fear and terror. Unspeakable emotions washed over me like waves, dragging me down and pulling the unsuspecting me into the abyss. I don't know how long it took, but I finally emerged from the space with trembling hands, even the knife in my grip feeling scalding. I've killed zombies more than once and faced them before, but this was the first time I confronted a death threat from my own kind. Charles wanted my life. If not the first time, then the second, unless I kill him. But over 30 years of deeply ingrained education left me utterly at a loss about what to do. After all, he's a living, breathing person. Only after confirming the silence outside did I open the door to leave. Opening the door, I saw Charles flashing me a smug grin. Damn it, I almost fell for your little act, you bitch. Why is he still here? How are you here? I asked him with trembling lips. Heh, you should ask your sister-in-law about that. She gave you to me, you bitch. acting all high and mighty, a slut who's been fucked rotten, still daring to give me attitude. He cursed while lunging at me. My mind went blank, and I closed my eyes. Boom, a massive wardrobe appeared out of thin air, falling from a height of 1 meter and crushing him beneath it. A pool of bright red blood spread out before me. My hands trembled as I stumbled backward a few steps. I actually killed someone. Charles, what happened? What was that noise? The unfamiliar man's voice snapped me back to reality. I quickly closed the wardrobe and hid behind the door. Hurried footsteps approached, and a figure appeared before me. Another loud explosion sounded. Several people stood by the roadside in the small town. Wiping the dust from my face, I boarded the vehicle back to the base. Far fewer people returned than had set out. Perhaps the rest had all died out there. I sniffed myself to make sure there was no trace of blood, then finally relaxed. The clothes I'm wearing were scavenged. No one has seen them before. In the base, there are too many people like me, covered in dust and looking disheveled, so I don't stand out at all. I quietly climbed through the window into the Cathy family's shack. Doris lay quietly on the ground, tear stains still visible on her face. I placed her into the space and quietly slipped out without alerting Cathy, who was cooking sweet potatoes outside. Glancing at the shack I had lived in for over 3 years, I silently set it ablaze. Then I turned and disappeared into the passing crowd. These shacks were built with plastic and wooden boards, burning quickly and completely within minutes, though I feel somewhat sorry for the woman who came to warn me. My conscience is clear. In my past life, these people took my flour and killed me. In this life, I merely burned their shacks. We're even now. As for Susan, I'll settle the score with her sooner or later. I found a corner and entered the space. Doris lay on the bed I had prepared in advance, still unconscious. I gently touched her little face, finally feeling a sense of relief. By the time Doris woke up, I had already built a makeshift shelter, although I didn't know if it would rain in the space. Sleeping under the open sky always made one feel insecure. Mommy, Doris rubbed her eyes and reached out for me to hold her. I picked her up and gently coaxed. Are you hungry, Doris? Mommy, where are we? Where's Auntie? I patted her head and explained to her seriously. This is in a secret place, a place only Mommy and you know about. Promise me you won't tell anyone else, okay? Doris nodded and Pinky promised me, okay, ever since she was old enough to understand. Doris had been living in constant fear and hardship. I gave her a children's bicycle, and she started playing with it on her own, her laughter echoing throughout the space. This is the life she should be living. I kept traveling in and out of the base, from twisting an ankle while killing zombies to feeling nothing when killing robbers. It really didn't take long. The world outside is changing, and so am I. It took me over 2 months to finally gather all the supplies needed for the merchant caravan. This merchant caravan belongs to ability users and frequently does business with the first base. The eldest was a fire-type ability user, rumored to incinerate zombies with just a wave of his hand. Following someone like this, safety is somewhat guaranteed. I left Doris in the space, though it might be a bit lonely for her alone. It's safe there, no need to endure the wind and sun with me. On the day of departure, I casually slung a bag over my shoulder for appearances and boarded the merchant caravan. I didn't notice it when we set out, but when the caravan stopped for a break, I unexpectedly spotted an unexpected figure among the group, Susan. She didn't seem to have suffered much these days and had even gained some weight. Following closely behind a strong man, her voice was unusually sweet and gentle. Mark, you're so kind. If it weren't for you, I would have starved to death. It's all because of my selfish sister-in-law who abandoned me. She's truly despicable. I lowered my head and got back on the bus. The leader of this merchant caravan is Mark, and I suspect she has hooked up with an ability user. I'm just an ordinary person, nowhere near comparable to these superhumans. Fortunately, Susan had been sitting with Mark in the front off-road vehicle the whole time and didn't notice me on the bus. I thought I could hide safely all the way to City A, but halfway there, we were suddenly attacked by a horde of zombies. Because it was the middle of the night, in the chaos, I actually managed to save Susan, who had been pushed to the ground. Recognizing it was her, I wordlessly pushed her away. What a damn shame, sister-in-law. I can't believe it's really you. Where's Doris? Her voice was a bit loud, attracting 2 stray zombies. I swung my blade twice, felling the zombie, then dug out its crystal core. She's dead. I didn't want her to know Doris's whereabouts. From the moment she used Doris to threaten me, she ceased to be Doris's family. The caravan had superhumans who quickly regrouped and continued their journey. If I had known saving Susan would make her cling to me like a snake, I would have wished to be reborn that night and stabbed her to death in the chaos. It's all my fault, boo-hoo, for making my sister-in-law abandon me when my brother died. He asked her to take care of me. It must be because I'm so useless. Mark, don't blame my sister-in-law. Watching Susan cry endlessly in front of me, I found her utterly annoying. Can you stop clinging to me? Don't you know exactly how Doris died? Susan used to have the persona of a kind little fairy, but now she's upgraded straight to a green tea white lotus. Every word out of her mouth is dripping with tea. And Mark just eats it up. Miss Tiffany really knows how to turn the tables. People as ungrateful and selfish as you are truly rare. Mark snorted coldly and left. I went through some tough times. Even the caravan leader called me selfish, so the people under him followed suit in isolating me. To make it safely to City A, I had no choice but to endure it over and over. Sorry, Miss Tiffany, the caravan's water supply is running low. Your ration for today has already been used up. This is the person who smiles to my face but deliberately withholds water from me in private. Take it or leave it. If you don't like it, get lost. This is the person who rolls their eyes at me all day long, practically itching to kick me out of the group. Woo-woo sister-in-law, I'm sorry. It's all my fault for not keeping a close eye on Doris, otherwise you wouldn't be so cold to me. This is Susan, who finds fault with me 800 times a day when she has nothing better to do, with so many people around. I couldn't just take food out from my space. So I had to secretly drink some spiritual spring water. Seeing Susan coming again, I couldn't help but speak up. Are you done yet? Crying like a baby at 30 years old? No amount of green paint can cover up that old stench of yours. Watching her face turn green with rage gave me an indescribable sense of satisfaction. I genuinely couldn't figure out what I'd done to offend this little fairy princess, making her latch onto me like a dog with a bone. If I weren't counting on these people to take me to City A, I'd have stabbed her to death long ago. The people around me glared with hatred, their expressions making me seem like their mortal enemy. I've never seen someone so ungrateful yet so self-righteous, utterly shameless. How can someone as vicious as you still have the nerve to live? If I were you, I'd leave the group myself to avoid bringing disaster upon the rest of us. I really don't understand. We had never even met before. Yet after Susan whimpered a few words, I suddenly became some kind of irredeemable villain. But I'm not some pushover now, so naturally, I fired back at everything. No one could be more shameless than you. At least I'm better than someone who can't tell right from wrong and has a screw loose. You still have the nerve to live. What could possibly be bothering me? I paid. Thank you. If you want me to leave the team, compensate me double. Perhaps my words were too harsh, but under Susan's instigation, Mr. Meng finally couldn't hold back and took a swing at me. During another zombie attack, someone secretly slipped a blood pack into my backpack. Then the group threw me into the zombie horde and drove away. The zombies surged like a tide, and I swung my knife tirelessly, again and again. Only one thought remained in my mind: I can't die. In the end, I finally broke free from the zombie swarm and stumbled into a villa district. But fate had other plans. I got bitten. Staring at the blackened wound on my leg, bitterness welled up in my heart. If I die, what will happen to Doris? She was only 6 years old. How could she survive without supplies? No, I can't die here. I drank some of the spiritual spring water, then took out all the supplies and placed them in the villa, putting Doris in another room. I told her that if I never came out of the room, she should take good care of herself. I kept talking until my consciousness began to blur. Then, gritting my teeth, I hugged Doris one last time and locked myself in the room. Then I lost consciousness. When I woke up again, 7 days had passed. As soon as I came to, I rushed to open the door and held Doris in my arms without a second thought. She was crying her heart out at the top of her lungs. Doris will be good. Mommy, don't leave Doris. Doris is scared. I held her as we both cried uncontrollably, my heart breaking into pieces. Doris was raised by me from infancy, when the apocalypse came.
Welcome to the PetSmart Kitchen with Wellness Pet Food.
Shiloh has a sensitive tummy.
Let's fix Shiloh a bowl of Wellness Core Plus sensitive skin and stomach with real cuts of freeze-dried salmon.
Okay.
I'm so excited. Do you like it?
Is it done? Done.
I carried her through our long escape, never
Okay.
once abandoning her. This was the first time I'd been apart from her for so long. I thought I would never see Doris again. Fortunately, heaven has been kind to me. After calming down, I carefully asked Doris about what had happened after I fell into a coma. Doris cried and cried, but she always remembered my words and didn't dare to open the door. surviving alone in the villa for 7 days. Finally, it was time for me to awaken my supernatural ability. Yes, I unexpectedly awakened a wood element ability. Although it could only nurture small plants like greens, it was better than nothing. With my special ability, I can find a job in City A and raise Doris, and I stayed in the villa area for over half a month. Not only did we find a large amount of supplies, but we also found maps and vehicles. Now, I can finally head to the City A base. With no one else around, Doris could finally come out for some fresh air. We traveled during the day and rested in the space at night, encountering no issues along the way. After driving for half a month, I ran into a merchant caravan in the abandoned City J, perhaps because they took a detour. They arrived in City J after me. The sound of an explosion woke me up. I quickly sent Doris into the space and looked out through the window. A familiar-looking bus had overturned on the road, and the screams and explosions attracted surrounding zombies to gather around. The awakened ones in the merchant caravan used their abilities to cover the ordinary people inside the bus as they retreated to a nearby shopping mall. What a coincidence! I was in the hotel at the top of the mall. Talk about bad luck running into each other. I'm starting to wonder if I have some kind of Susan attracting buff on me. No matter where I go, she always seems to haunt me like a ghost. I really didn't want to deal with these people anymore, so I entered the space before they could search for me. I planned to stay inside until they left. I never expected Susan ultimately chose the room I was staying in, and even though I had taken all the bedding with me, she inexplicably insisted on moving in. While I was observing outside, Doris also saw it. "Mom, that's Auntie outside." I shook my head and told her, "She wants to kill Mom and Doris. From now on, she's not your aunt anymore. If Doris sees her, stay far away from her." Susan wasn't kind to Doris, and Doris didn't particularly like this aunt either. After hearing my words, she nodded. "I don't like Auntie." After Susan moved in, that Mark superhuman would come to see her every day. Occasionally, I could still hear her muttering curses about me to herself. "Tiffany, you bitch. So what if my brother likes you? You're still dead. Ha ha ha, you promiscuous slut. How dare you threaten my brother and stop him from being good to me? Too bad Charles didn't get to rape you. You got off easy. Dying was way too merciful for you, you whore. If it weren't for me being on the same household register as my brother, you'd never have gotten to be his wife. And that little brat too. All of you should just die." No wonder. I always felt her hatred towards me was utterly inexplicable. So that's how it is. Never expected she would develop such feelings for my husband. Actually, before we got married, my husband told me that Susan wasn't his biological sister. She was adopted and shares no blood relation with him, but their whole family treated Susan as their own, so I didn't take this matter to heart. Little did I know, this would become the origin of the conflict between me and Doris. All because of jealousy. She could betray me without hesitation and cause my death. This woman is truly detestable. Half a month later, I finally brought Doris to the A City base. Compared to other places, this feels more like a civilized society from before the apocalypse. All institutional departments are still operational. There are comprehensive laws and regulations, and superpowered individuals on duty, so there's no need to worry about murder and arson for fortunate outsiders like us. The base has accommodated everyone, because I possess wood-based superpowers. I was assigned to the cultivation base, responsible for the food supply of the entire base. Even Doris started attending kindergarten, though I don't know why Base A City turned out that way in my past life. For me now, this is already quite good. Half a year passed peacefully like this. I suddenly discovered that all the crystal cores stored in the space had disappeared, while the tree inside bore fruit. Could the crystal core be useful to the spirit tree? After observing for half a month, I discovered that the spirit tree does indeed absorb the crystal cores. Every time I gave the spirit tree a crystal core, the fruit on it would grow slightly larger. Although I don't know what the fruit is for, I have a vague premonition that it will be of great use once it ripens. I started collecting a large number of crystal cores. Unfortunately, there weren't many crystal cores in the base, so it was impossible to supply the spirit tree in large quantities. Therefore, I joined the exploration team, following them to fight zombies and gather some crystal cores for the spirit tree. The team I joined was composed entirely of ability users. The captain was a female lightning type ability user, already approaching her 40s, with a very stable personality and good character. I joined them with peace of mind. After cultivating for so long, I had become proficient in manipulating vine-type plants for combat, though not particularly powerful. I was at least not a burden to the team. The captain, though not understanding why I wanted to collect the crystal cores, still gave me all of them. In just 3 short months, the spirit tree absorbed a massive amount of crystal cores, the fruits on the tree grew increasingly ripe, and it was almost time for harvest. Right at that moment, I suddenly received news that Doris had gone missing. After I joined the exploration team, Doris was brought to the team's base. There were ordinary people specifically assigned to help take care of children, somewhat like full-time daycare centers before the apocalypse. Sometimes when the exploration team couldn't return, there would be dedicated personnel to look after the children. Upon receiving this news, we rushed back to the base overnight. Aunt Lily, who was responsible for watching her, felt guilty and apologized to me with reddened eyes. When Aunt Lily went to pick up Doris, she suddenly had diarrhea. So she asked the kindergarten teacher to watch Doris for 5 minutes while she went to the restroom. Who would have thought that in just those 5 minutes, a woman claiming to be Doris's aunt came and took her away? The kindergarten teacher asked Doris, and Doris also said that person was her aunt. The teacher then confidently handed Doris over to that woman. Aunt Lily thought that person had taken Doris back, never expecting that Doris would actually go missing. After hearing this, I immediately knew who that person was. Susan. It must be her. I told Doris not to pay attention to Susan. Doris is very obedient. She wouldn't follow Susan for no reason. After the team leader learned about Doris's disappearance, he also mobilized his connections to help me search for Doris everywhere. I anxiously inquired about Doris's whereabouts and finally got some information. Someone had seen Susan at the base of a special abilities team when I went there. The news I received was that everyone in the team had left the city, and Susan had indeed taken a little girl with her. I didn't know where Susan was taking Doris. After finding out their destination, I hurried over. In a satellite city about 5 hours' drive from City A, I met Susan and Doris, whom she had taken with her. Susan didn't look well now. In fact, she looked even worse than she had in City L. She was emaciated, with sagging skin and dry, yellowish hair, resembling someone in their 50s. I almost didn't recognize her. She held Doris in her arms, a knife in her hand, her emotions running high. Don't come any closer, Tiffany. If you dare take another step, I'll take this little bitch with me to the grave. She stood on a second-floor platform, with a seething crowd of zombies below. I spotted a vine growing in the corner and calmly tried to soothe her. Don't hurt Doris. Even if you hate me, don't harm your brother's last remaining bloodline in this world. Mentioning her husband made her even more agitated, waving the knife. You don't deserve to speak of him, you ungrateful, promiscuous bitch. Why wasn't it you who died? Why do you still get to live? The more she spoke, the more worked up she became, even starting to hurl curses at me, over and over. It was the same old accusations of ingratitude and the like. Tears welled up in Doris's eyes, but she didn't dare to speak. Susan kept cursing while retreating backward, just one step away from falling. I couldn't help but take a step forward after her, but she screamed back at me hysterically, "Stay where you are, don't."
When planning for my recent trip to the French Riviera, I was stressing about when I should buy my flight because of how unpredictable flight prices have been lately. A friend suggested I check out Expedia's price tracking to know the best time to book my flight to Nice. As an Expedia member, all I did was search a flight in the app, turn
So
on price
tired
tracking,
of all
and then
the
it sent me
advertisements.
notifications whenever the flight price changed. Even better was knowing I could earn and use more rewards for future travel booked on Expedia.
Don't move, I'm already done for anyway. If you come closer, I'll take her with me to death. Alright, I won't move. What do you want to let Doris go? I stood still, not daring to move a muscle, while urging the ivy to creep up behind her. What do I lack compared to you, you poor, old bitch? Why do they all reject me? Why, how come you, Tiffany, get to live such a good life? How come you get to have supernatural abilities? I've helped so many people, done so many good deeds. Everyone says I'm the kindest little fairy, so why can't I live a life of wealth and luxury? She had completely lost her mind, screaming hysterically. Her voice attracted hordes of zombies, all gathering below and howling. My ability isn't strong enough to fully accelerate the growth of ivy yet. After dealing with Susan for so long, it had only managed to cover the entire wall. Suddenly, Susan pointed a knife at me and roared, "If you want her to live, fine. But you, Tiffany, you bitch, must die. I want to watch you die. Jump from here, or I'll take her with me to the grave." I kept saying, "Fine, I'll die, but you have to put Doris down first. I need to see that Doris is safe." "You're lying, you don't actually want to die." Susan let out a furious roar and pushed Doris off the wall with lightning speed. In that instant, I quickly activated the ivy, wrapping it around Doris just as she was about to fall into the zombie horde. shielding her from the overwhelming tide of undead. Seeing this, the captain swiftly rushed forward, pinned Susan to the ground, and restrained her. Doris was lifted back up by the ivy, and I immediately ran over to embrace her. Doris, are you okay? Don't be afraid, Mommy's here. Doris burst into tears. Mommy, Mommy, Doris thought she'd never see you again. Don't be scared, Mommy's here to save you. Mommy's right here. It's okay now. It's okay. Ha 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 ha. Susan, pinned to the ground, laughed maniacally, her mouth full of blood, her eyes gleaming with malice. Do you think I would let her go? Tiffany, you bitch. You fell for it, ha ha ha. I already smeared zombie blood on the knife and stabbed that little bitch. She's about to turn into a zombie any moment now. I quickly pulled up Doris's pant leg, and sure enough, there was a blackened wound on her calf. Following the veins, faint traces of spreading were visible. Doris slowly closed her eyes and began running a high fever. She's turning into a zombie, without caring about the others. I quickly took out the spiritual spring water from my space and fed it to Doris. But the spiritual spring seemed to have lost its effect. Doris started convulsing all over, and black lines began spreading across her face. What to do? What to do? I was so frantic I didn't know what to do. The team leader said with some reluctance, Juicy, Doris no, impossible. Doris must be fine. I hugged Doris tightly. Doris has been drinking the spiritual spring water all along, so she won't turn into a zombie. I didn't change either. She must still be savable. There's a spiritual spring and a spiritual tree in the space. Yes, yes, the spirit tree. The fruits of the spirit tree have ripened. I quickly retrieved a fruit with my mind, and upon biting into it, I found the flesh inside as soft as jelly. I restrained Doris, who had begun to howl and struggle, and fed her all the fruit flesh. This was the longest night I've spent in both lifetimes. After consuming the spirit fruit, Doris gradually calmed down, and those black lines actually faded away. Fearing one fruit might not be enough, I fed her another one. As dusk fell, the captain directed the others to set up camp on the spot. I carried Doris into one of the rooms. If Doris turns into a zombie, then I'll be the one to send her off. If the spirit fruit works, then I hope the first person she sees when she wakes up is her mother. Doris in my arms remained feverish, and I didn't dare to sleep. I kept cooling her down by wiping her body with cold water. At last, when the first ray of sunlight streamed into the room, Doris opened her eyes and called out to me weakly, Mom. I held Doris and burst into tears. She seemed a little at a loss, but still hugged me back, comforting me just like she always did. Mom, don't cry, Doris is here. The other team members were drawn by the commotion and came in. Seeing Doris awake and completely normal, they all cheered loudly. The autumn of the 4th year in the apocalypse. Humanity finally harvested the first fruit capable of suppressing the virus. Our cheers startled Susan. She struggled to crawl out of the room where she was confined, and upon seeing Doris, she broke down and screamed, Impossible, this is absolutely impossible. She must have turned into a zombie. I saw it with my own eyes. It can't be nothing, impossible. I handed Doris over to my teammate. He grabbed her from the ground and pulled her up. Doris is fine. I pushed her toward the window, gripping her hair to force her to look outside. I used to think you were just naive, but I never imagined you could be so vicious. If it weren't for your brother's sake, I would have stabbed you to death long ago. You already got your brother killed. Isn't that enough? Do you want to kill his only child too? Her face turned pale with terror, tears and snot streaming down as she begged for mercy. Sister-in-law, I was wrong. I'm sorry. Please let me go. I beg you, for my brother's sake. Please spare me. I pushed her upper body out the window, where a sea of zombies stared up at her with dark, hungry eyes. Too late. I was going to spare you, but you brought this on yourself. Susan, just die. With that, I shoved her out the window. A tidal wave of zombies surged forward, swallowing Susan's body until she vanished from sight. Watching the scene unfold, I felt the weight in my heart finally lift. I finally got my revenge for my past life. It wasn't until many years later, when Doris already had children, that I understood what my space truly meant. Everything humanity has experienced was merely the precursor to the resurgence of spiritual energy. Those zombies were simply people who couldn't withstand the first wave of spiritual energy cleansing and lost control. Space is that remaining thread of vitality. The crystal core also contains spiritual energy. The fruit produced by the spiritual tree after absorbing this energy can help those who have gone astray in cultivation return to the right path and reconnect with spiritual energy. Moreover, Planting the seeds of the spiritual fruit allows for the gradual accumulation of spiritual energy from heaven and earth until the cycle of spiritual energy begins anew. In her previous life, after this space fell into Susan's hands, she not only failed to cultivate spiritual fruits but also solely focused on exploiting the spiritual spring for her own benefit. Once ability users reach a certain stage of growth, they require spiritual energy to sustain themselves and continue living. Without spiritual fruits, spiritual energy cannot enter the cycle, and its revival becomes impossible. Thus, in her previous life, this world collapsed. The heaven noticed and used all its power to reverse time and space, sending me, the original master of this realm, back to the past. This led to my rebirth. Fortunately, after my rebirth, I sensed the call of the heaven in the unseen and cultivated spiritual fruits. After obtaining the spiritual fruits, I did not keep them to myself. Instead, I used my wood-based abilities to cultivate more spirit trees and planted them outside, saving those who were still alive. With this, the purpose of my rebirth was fully accomplished. From then on, it was the beginning of a new story. That's all the story. What do you think of this story? Share with me in the comments section. What would you do if you were in this situation? Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so anyway, we're gonna end it now. I hope you have a good day, night, week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and bye bye.